Hello, folks. Welcome to Irongeek Cast number 30, titled Mini Sides. Hope everything's doing okay. We have a few people who have joined, and we'll start the conversation in a second. But first, I'll go over some notes about upcoming cons I'll be at. DerbyCon, September 20th to the 24th. Skydog Con, I'll just be attending October 20th to the 22nd. And GurgeCon, October 26th to the 27th. And HackerCon, November 17th to the 19th. B-Sides Philly, December 8th. And that's everything, actually, for the rest of this year. How's everybody doing tonight? And all my guests are muted.
Great.
Excellent.
Hey, Charles. All right. Well, let's get into the shit. If anybody's got the show notes up.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right. First thing we'll start off with is meat pistols. Apparently, a couple of researchers got fired from Salesforce because of a presentation they gave at DEF CON. And I haven't looked as much into this as I need to. The original thing, because I saw it like last week. One of the things that came up with it was why exactly were they fired? Because they thought the slide approval process has been gone through, but apparently they wanted to open source something that the company didn't want to open source. Anybody know the details on meat pistol?
No, not really. I don't know the details. I don't know what happened for them to get fired. I've been, sniffing around Twitter to see what was going on, but I didn't really get any definite answers. So I don't know what could happen.
Right. I mean, the only topic of discussion that came up in is the fact of apparently if you give talks now, you run the risk of being fired because it has happened to several other people in the past as well.
Yeah, well, there's that guy that had an issue with Cisco, I don't know, about 10 years ago at DEF CON. And he was going to talk about exploits and so forth with like Cisco equipment. His work almost got him in trouble. Yeah, and he went ahead and did it anyway and got fired.
Wow.
I don't remember the guy's name. I actually met him, though, before at Freaknik.
So what do you think?
Mike Lynn. Mike Lynn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, like, with these type of things happening all the time, isn't it going to kill or wouldn't it hurt the security researchers community by doing this? I mean, in a roundabout way, or to try to deter researchers?
Maybe it depends on how they go about it, but I mean, stuff like this has happened before, and I think people just need to maybe vet those slides through work first, and then what work do if they've already vetted them.
No, I mean it. Yeah, I mean the slides were quote unquote vetted, but still, I mean, at the end of the day, they were let go. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was Bat or somebody else who their slides were vetted and then they wound up, getting axed anyway.
I don't know, man. That's a lot.
The other hubbub, though, is a bunch of people are always blaming it on, they find it offensive that it's called meat pistol. And there was a bunch of whining about this is why women don't come into tech. And I'm like, if you're not weak-minded, come into tech because of this. And then I posted a poll about, what's more offensive, thinking that body jokes not directed at you or thinking that women are so fragile that it would keep them out of a field. I mean, and then some mangina messaged me on that and gets all pissed. He's like, "Oh, it's not just that; it's everything else around it." And then he eventually tweets me a retweet to someone I already have blocked, who was saying something along the lines of, "Women ask for more money. They're for asking for more money." Person says, "Why don't women just ask for more money?" And I'm like, "When did that ever actually happen? Ever? I mean, you make people leave after asking for money. I don't know. I've never heard of anybody being fired for asking for more money."
No, that's bullshit.
Especially
that's bullshit. People leave if they're not getting no more money. They leave. If you're getting fired for asking for more money, you need a lawyer up.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I'm serious.
That doesn't happen to men or women. I don't buy it.
No. I mean, anytime I've asked for more money for a company I work for, first they laugh.
Have you
and then they laugh some more, and then they say, "Well, you can continue getting paid what you're getting paid, or you can quit."
But that's not getting fired.
Yeah. No.
Right. what the person on the Twitter feed is talking about. Well, I asked for more money and I got fired. That's bullshit. That's a lie. I'm sorry. Like, no, never in the history of working, asking for money, you're fired. If that's the case, then nobody would work and ask for promotions. Come on.
It happened to me once, but that boss was an asshole. So it was better that way.
Okay, I'm just can you take me back? Can you take me back to what, like, if you feel like it, you know?
People could talk about Meat Pistol.
Yeah,
an offensive name, and how terrible that they have this joke in there.
I mean, come on. I mean,
no, it's funny.
I wore a shirt to a meeting that says "I bust nuts."
Jack, you know what, man? You're my hero.
And the only thing my boss said was, you know, Trey, you know, Jack, you know, you might want to wear polos from here on out. But
Okay,
I mean,
Jack.
he insisted on it. He insisted on, you know, he insisted on having a camera on, and I was 20 miles away from my wardrobe, so.
Hey, it is what it is. You know what, you are off the hook, man. I bust nuts. When the girl's like, "Oh my god,
that is not a trash can." Garbage.
Oh no, you know what? That's good. That was like perfect timing of the segue, because when I said, "Oh my god," I wonder what they said at work when you wore the shirt. I was nuts, and then Mary's just like, "That is not a trash can." I'm like,
Well, the laptop apparently works better than I'd anticipated, so yay, internet.
yes, it does. No, but it was hilarious the way the timing was. I was like, Jack, I can't believe that you wore a shirt that said "I bust nuts," and then I wonder what they said at work when you wore that shirt, and you was like, "This is not a trash can."
Sorry.
Perfect timing.
Oh Lord.
All right, on to the next subject.
Yeah.
Well, this one's a little bit sadder. Crap going down in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Woo!
The eclipse
Talk
party
about
is very cool.
fireworks.
I'll call flack for this all week because of my positions on it. So
It's like an interesting then. The biggest tragedy of the weekend was that a car plowed into a bunch of counter protesters, and one lady got killed in the process. Looking at the footage, it's hard to tell if the car was attacked first, then decided to try to get out of there, just sped ahead, didn't realize there was cars ahead of it, or if it was deliberate. The footage looks. I mean, there were definitely people on that street ready to fight.
From what we've been given for viewing, it is kind of hard to tell, because you know there was more shit that we'd have to see to put it in context. But either way, the whole fucking bullshit could have been avoided if we didn't have extremist assholes on both sides. So that's really what it do. But I'm not 100%. The way that the car was moving leads me to feel more towards that part of that was at least partially panicked. But even it's not excusable either way. But
I know there was a bunch of people say about the counter protesters. They try to. I saw these fucking stupid cartoons to try to make them out to be completely peaceful, innocent people.
bullshit. Bullshit.
No.
Hell no.
No, see the number of people who landed on the back of that car after it plowed through. They were ready for a fight, and they all had sticks. So I don't know what the hell they had. Axe handles.
They had poles and sticks and bats. They had to have them already on them, because you don't just pull that shit out your ass. No. And that's not the first time, because I have a page, Trisha and a couple other people that had protested in Berkeley in March. Yeah. They beat the shit out of them with baseball bats and pipes and crap. And she's a air paramedic, so she was trying to get the Antifa off of the little old lady and little old man that they had on the ground kicking the crap out of. So they've been bringing it.
And then don't forget, I think it was like Birmingham, Alabama, where they made them take their mask off, and then, hey, don't forget your pipe.
Man, there's so much. Yeah, Charlottesville. it's like that hit close to home, and a lot of people were just like losing their minds. And see, you know what sucks? Okay, we only got that one image, that one angle.
Well, there's two, but
Right. Well, yeah, two.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, what else happened?
Yeah.
What else?
Why'd the helicopter crash?
Right. Thank you. I want to know what happened with that.
As far as I saw, the one article I read on it said there was no foul play assumed. So I'm assuming pilot error or mechanical failure. This happened to coincide.
I'll check on the firefighter news because something like that should show up at some point after investigation's done. But
yeah, but that was crazy. I said, yo, what is this? The world coming to an end? There's fights on the ground, people crashing. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was just like a back-to-back, like, you know, and now quiet as it's kept. Well, I heard looking online that they're trying to come to Richmond now.
Oh yeah,
I'm on. I have almost every firefighter newsletter come to my email. Let's see.
Well, did you get any information on the Charlotte crash yet?
Which Charlotte crash?
The helicopter that crashed during the rally the other day. What actually caused it?
No one has a clue about that yet.
Well, okay, that's what we're talking. We're seeing if there's an investigation came out yet.
Well, no.
Because I got to say, on ABC News, they said 3 deaths were linked.
Anytime
Helicopter crash.
Helicopter, it usually takes years to know what caused it.
Yeah, I'm looking too, but that's something that's going to be under investigation for probably a bit. But my understanding was that it was unrelated at the same time.
Right. I mean, it's obviously not like an RPG from the the right-wing militants, right? But of course that's kind of implied,
you know. Well, either who knows.
But I find and people are offended at Trump for saying many sides, hatred on many sides, or whatever he said like that. But there's people who want to pretend that the other side, the Antifa types, are truly what they say they are. They're not. People don't seem to understand these people are doing buggery for quite a while. Actually, I got this cool video earlier. I'm going to go ahead and share this thing. Let me see. All right, you can see my screen now, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear it? And shit starts blowing up. Oh, just Jamie. Yeah, Jamie was in on that in that mess. And Kyla and Jamie, I think, shot. Some guy get hit on the head by a bike clock.
Damn, is that somebody dead?
No, I think they're just down. Because I think it's the first death. I think officially was this one from over the weekend.
Yeah, but people talk about, oh, there's only one side. No, there is these things nowadays.
Well, so you've heard of by any means necessary, right? BAM, BAM.
Yeah, fuck them.
Get it off the chest, Jack. You feel better. Treat it like Robitussin.
Yeah.
Well,
you bet for luck or something.
I don't know. First-hand account of the helicopter crash was that pieces of the helicopter started to break off as it fell from the sky. That makes me kind of that's not normal. How close were they to the ground zero?
Well, one report I read said it wasn't the helicopter that was in the sky above the protest.
What was it? A
so
UFO?
It was one that was. It could have been poor maintenance. I mean, that was just like we just had our school, our elementary school here just went on lockdown yesterday because, and of course that was because you gotta love we have our local busybody, and the local busybody posts on Facebook with nothing. She goes, oh, there's a man at the elementary school with an AK-47 and he's threatening because there's a custody battle and blah blah blah. And she posts this shit on Facebook saying, oh, a friend of a friend heard this on the police scanner. And she posts this, of course, that puts everyone in panic because they don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Official report, what actually happened was a call came in from the city police that the dude was threatening the other spouse, and just to be on the safe side, the sheriff called the school and said, hey, because this is one of those times where, you know, because his kids are at the school, go ahead and put the school on lockdown until we get this sorted out. So the guy was not anywhere near the school as far as
Okay.
you know, there was no evidence of it, had nothing, there was no one outside the school with the gun, none of that shit was going on. But because local busybody posted that shit on Facebook, that of course puts everyone in a damn panic. So that's what I mean by, that's why I hate it when people jump in going, this is exactly what happened because of whatever. I'm like, yes, but you don't know that. You know, give it a little bit, just like even with Trump yesterday, or a couple days ago, where it was, you know, saying all sides. You know, that was probably the most level-headed thing to do because they really didn't have the information yet, and they're still sorting it all out. You know, right. So it's like people want people to apologize for shit that they may not even need to necessarily apologize for. Not this, and again, this is not me excusing any. I believe both groups are at fault and both groups are racist and stupid. But
I have a question for you guys from an operational security standpoint. So let's say, you know, so in terms of why do the police stand down? So let's say you got these crazy fringe people on either side. You know, if you were the cops, wouldn't you co-opt either movement? So then you have an excuse, you have an inside track to do whatever you want?
They do. And number two, it has to go by scene safety, because your personal safety is paramount. So if they need to measure it out first. An action is going to escalate something, they may choose to try to back off, to encourage them to also back off by reflecting what they're doing.
Right.
So that's one thing that they do think about also. That, or they'd rather use the local fire department as personal shields, because sometimes that happens too.
For sure. I'm trying to take an enlightened view here.
That where they've had issues getting people that were altered states of mind usually, and they've actually called fire department in to tackle people. So that happens.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, unfortunately, I think this stuff is going to keep escalating.
I think you might be right, man. Unfortunately.
All right. Well, let's hop on to the next subject. I have malware tech belong. Someone was wanting us to talk about this last week, and we didn't. So, how much do y'all know about this story?
Well, apparently, from what I know, not much.
All right, I said the basis of it, while he was over here for DEF CON, before he left, the FBI nabbed him, and they suspect him of helping develop a certain piece of...
yeah, I saw that story.
Yeah, a certain piece of malware. I can't remember the name of it right now. Chronos. And he got fame because of stopping the what is it? WannaCry.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the guy really, so I can't say innocent or guilty. And I don't know what the FBI has on the guy. But I don't know where to go with that. I seen some articles. I seen some kind of sensationalist articles out there, though, saying that he was like throwing around all this money in Vegas and so forth, and showing the beautiful place he stayed at. And they don't get it. The beautiful place he stayed at was paid for by, I think, by a friend or a boss, and he was crashing there. And a lot of people who have completely legit, infosec business, blow a lot of money in Vegas.
That's true.
But I don't even know much about the guy, so if someone more educated wants to actually speak on it, feel free to jump in. Okay, and then I guess.
Well, wait. I got something, but I don't know how my mic is working. So, Basically, it's the Kronos banking Trojan. That was what it's all about. That's why he got indicted for the creation. Apparently, he was selling it, promoting it, and marketing it online. I heard about it in the Darknet party. I solved the challenge, and there was all everybody was talking about it there. And other
Oh
than
wow.
that, I think um, somebody at the Darknet party was saying that that he was he was selling it to an undercover agent of the FBI, and that's how he got caught. And he was gonna meet with them in Vegas, and then that's what happened. The sting operation. That's what I was told, but don't know the truth or anything on that. I know at the Telefreakers party that was a big subject as well. Um, and somebody else mentioned something about him basically messing with the wrong people, and they basically turned him in. But I don't know if it's truth or not.
So
One thing we do know for sure, he got arrested.
Yes, he got arrested on Thursday. That's what I heard.
is he still in or?
I have no idea. I try to stay away from people that have that kind of heat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
so far,
he's
black
actually out on bail, and he has access to the internet.
Yeah, he's probably getting a passport right now. I don't know, but I mean, it's pretty messed up. You know, I mean, it's pretty kind of like he kind of did like the comic snitch situation. I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna promote it, sell it, market it. I believe the bail. How much was the bail? Does anybody know?
We can look it up. Real for wanna cry guy.
Wanna cry.
Wanna cry guy. How long ago I saw the wanna cry? May, March, August 4th.
I have no idea what y'all.
$30,000. $30,000.
Well, so they put him in a
There you go,
$300,000 thing, right? Don't you pay like 10%? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got something too. Well, it's kind of similar related to the subject, and I just have a question, right? Okay. The other day, well, no, I'd say okay, 2 months ago, right? I was doing a search on a client, just like recon before usually when we're getting ready to do a talk or, like present a solution to the customer, we do a little recon, what's their LinkedIn, kind of know what the company does, right? So I did a search. Yeah, just a little bit. Wait, okay, I did a search, right? And I found out something kind of crazy. My coworker's a convicted felon. A convicted felon of embezzlement of money. And it's been bottled up for a minute. But I don't know, because here's the thing. We kind of work in the government space, and one day I might get cleared. And tell me if I'm wrong. Is it, if you're trying to get cleared, can that mess with your clearance if you're associated with somebody that's a convicted felon?
No, it cannot. No.
Just be honest about it. Just don't. And I can pull Simon Tick in here. He'll basically tell you the same thing from what he's said before of people looking for it. It's just list everything. Just if you ever did anything stupid, just list it.
Well, no. I mean, it also depends on what level of clearance, because I mean, I can't qualify for a top secret because in the '80s, my best friend, who I'm still close to, paid a visit to the Soviet Union, and I didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah, because like I didn't know this dude was a convicted felon until I saw it on the internet, and he got indicted.
Well, I mean, Is he a coworker? Is he a friend?
No, he's a coworker. He's not a friend.
Well, it's not going to affect you at all then. It's
Okay.
it's not your problem. But now, if he were to go for a clearance, then yeah, that felony conviction would bar him from getting a clearance.
Yeah, because and I found out recently that he's barred from because he went to a government facility and they didn't know that he was a convicted felon. And of course, he's not allowed back there anymore. But it's just the fact that they didn't check. I didn't know. I always thought all facilities check, your background before you can go on.
No. I mean, then that also depends. I mean, the onus in that case will fall on the contractor to check beforehand to pre-clear.
Okay.
But now, if it's a cleared space, so let's just say like where I go to, which is a lot of military bases.
Right.
Before I even pull up, well, I mean, I have a government CAC, so I'm cleared to go anyway. But if they just scan my driver's license and there's something there, so what happened a lot of times at Fort Knox is that that truck drivers would get held up at the gate because they have child support issues.
Oh, okay, yeah. That kind of makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Or they have warrants, so the load will be sitting there at the gate while the dude's going in cuffs.
Yeah, I mean, like it's crazy. So when I found it, I've just been quiet about it for like I just I figured I'd ask on my favorite channel.
Well, I would tread carefully on that. I mean, you have to assume that your employer and the supervisor would know about it. They would have to know.
I would think so. It's like I don't know. So I've just been kind of quiet but watching.
Yeah, but then you don't want to be that stitch supposed to whistle because
that's the thing too. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy like, hey man, he's a convicted felon, and then then people be looking at me kind of crazy.
I can't really comment on this other than to say I have some misdemeanors on my record, and I was talking to a guy that had experience with the State Department, and he was like, well, depending on what you do, they don't, it depends on where you're going with that.
No, felony, you're fucked.
Yeah, but he was convicted. He was indicted on embezzlement of $4,000 from a children's fund. From a children's charity or whatnot.
Do I know this guy? I've heard this story not that long ago.
Oh shit, 2015?
Something like that.
I'm just gonna say West Virginia.
I don't know. I just remembered something very similar to that coming up in one of the threads like a couple days ago.
Oh shit.
Okay, then.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. It's about to. Because I was just like worried about it. Like, damn, what if they try to get me, get a clearance, and I'm working with this guy, and I ain't want nothing to mess up my clearance because shit, I ain't do nothing.
No, you're fine. But then people have slipped through the cracks. Like there was one guy who was a convicted kitty fiddler, and man, they had to hurry and get him the fuck away from me because I was gonna kill him.
Yeah, like really.
Because I couldn't believe they had me in a conference room and it was like, this is why you're being fired. And so he was sitting there pleading his case, and I was like, dude, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Like, yeah, that's a bit much. Like, damn. How did that slip through the cracks though?
Don't know. It came up on a follow up and it was like years old, and it was like 15 years old at that point. But I was like, yeah, you might need to get the fuck out of here. Because if I leave here before you, I'm going to be out in the parking lot.
And again, I hate saying this, but I have to always clarify. Did you get the details of what the particular case was? Because I have friends that were convicted where they were 17 and she was 16, and they were both in the same class. And because the school wanted to push it, he has it on his record. Or are you talking like he knows better and that, yeah, because there's that.
And secondly,
it was while he was in the Navy, and he was
no.
23, and the conviction was under 12.
Oh, I'd murder him too.
I'm really not trying to derail the conversation. What about Hillary Clinton in the emails of this Iwan dude? I mean, I assume he didn't have clearance, but some of these guys had access to top secret material, right? And that goes unpunished. So I mean.
They let him get away with way too much.
Yeah, I was just shocked. Like, just can't believe, like some of the stuff that just squeaks through, like like, really? Yeah, Jack out here declaring war on people.
What? I mean, dude, if you had heard that, hey, the conviction was for associating with a minor under 12.
Nah, I feel some kind of way. I ain't gonna lie. Jack, I swear, Jack. Like when you said that, I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of here. I just was thinking like the preview of a movie about like explosions in the background and shit. Props and everything. Like an old '80s promo for like Die Hard.
Thai food or something. Indian food.
Murder.
He said, "You did what? I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of here." Literally. I don't know, man.
You all right?
Did you ever cover the Iwan dude? So he was nabbed for some kind of bank fraud, but I'm pretty sure the IT scandal was a lot deeper than that.
Huh.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Wasserman Schultz,
no.
IT guy?
Yes. I think so. No. Wait. There were so many.
Yeah, where he got caught getting ready to get on the flight, and yeah.
They already sent his wife back home, and then they caught him after. Was this the hard drive dude, or you're talking about a different dude? Because there's so many. Yeah, the hard drive dude, where he abandoned the house and rented it out, and then the dude found the hard drives, called the government, and then he tried to sue or threaten the tenant to get.
Huh.
And then they caught him on a flight trying to head back out of the country.
Wow.
Because he says he is.
What was on the hard drives?
More of Hillary's emails.
They started as a conversation about
government hard
clearance, but I'm just saying, in terms of like corruption and whatnot.
Well, that story went deeper, wasn't it? That they were also like hiring his family members, one for like ridiculous salary a year, and one of them actually like had no. He like worked at McDonald's, and then he quit his job at McDonald's, but he had no. But he had supposedly they referred to them as in the DNC as shadow employees, like no one ever saw them come in or out, and they were just on payroll. So, but they had all this access, and so maybe one or two of them had computer skills, but the rest of them were just sucking money. They were just funneling money wherever they were funneling it, because they don't know. But it was like really high payroll. So yeah, there was a lot going on.
So what you're saying is that I need to become a shadow employee. All right.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't that bad of an idea either. I'm like, well, I have basic certs and a resume. Maybe I can just, totally collect a paycheck and do diddly shit if I want to work for the Democrats.
Hey, opportunity, sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, really.
Somebody's got to lose and make a mess.
That's true.
Well, someone needs to be scapegoated, I think is what it comes down to.
This
Say
is true.
boo. Say boo.
So what do y'all think on the issue? Last thing I have on here is like the Daily Stormer takedown. Apparently, after the hubbub this last weekend, they went ahead and I think it was originally registered with GoDaddy. GoDaddy dropped them. It quickly switched to Google. Google dropped them pretty quickly. They had some kind of flare out with a Cloudflare. They eventually got like some Russian domain, which seems to be down, but they have a site on the darknet, a .onion address that's up now. So
I'm very upset about that whole thing. I'm really upset. I wanted to get that domain so badly and turn it into like an X-Men Storm, be the Daily Storm, and just be like a total fan page dedicated to like, Marvel's Storm, because that would be, seriously, how could you get any cooler than that? You have your African priestess with weather control powers and like totally took over their stupid ass domain name because it would be funny and beautiful and poetic. No, seriously, you know what I'm going at. Like, oh yeah, dude, I love that shit. I wanted that domain so bad.
I think someone else's suggestion was put up interracial gay porn.
No, mine's
yeah,
more
but
fun.
I thought we wanted to insult them, not make them.
I think it should be something to do with furries. That's just my opinion, though.
No,
There
they're
already is,
they like
Daily Stormer.
Yeah, yeah.
Furries are interesting.
Oh my god! Oh, the image is in my head now.
Yeah, it's called alt furry.
You're welcome.
Oh, why?
It's worse than it sounds.
Furries and a tub of
Yeah.
Vaseline. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, jeez. I heard it was peanut butter. Instead of Vaseline. Peanut butter.
Yeah, it's disturbing. Cloudflare buckled on removing their protection from Daily Stormer. And Cloudflare always billed itself as they will not take down any site without legal order, without due process, because they did not want to be in a position to be expected to arbitrate what content should stay up or what content should be taken down. It's up to courts to be best for that. But they've been sticking that over the years by standing up for even protecting ISIS websites. So they now have a track record of sticking to their principles so much they did not remove their protection from ISIS websites until a court order came, but they somehow crumpled against a meme neo-Nazi website, the Daily Stormer. Holy crap, what kind of political pressure did they face? Years of principle out the window for a website that features cyberpunk Hitler, Pokemon trainer Hitler, as their freaking mascot. What the hell happened?
That's better than all the other mascots.
They also have Chibi and Anime Hitler.
What's up, guys? Girls?
What's up?
What are we talking about tonight?
Pokemon Hitler.
I hate all of you. Damn it.
Pokemon Hitler,
Pokemon trainer Hitler.
And furries.
Doubt it was you with Pokemon too. Yeah, I have not the slightest doubt in my mind that's a thing.
Pokey. This was the article, gentlemen.
Daily Stormer is.
You made me break my internet.
This entire exercise is just futile.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I think that Daily Stormer is done for personally.
Nah, they'll find a way to be up. There's thousands of hosts. There's some things can stay up.
There are thousands of hosts. I think the problem is with the Charlottesville is a watershed moment, and I think that moving forward, it's going to be really hard for them.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see how they try to stay up. But
Maybe they move to I2P or something. But
well, actually, we have a site on .onion.
That's what I figured
that
would
got
happen.
DDoSed. The Onion site is not accessible to my understanding.
So that's down to now?
Yep. That's the thing with the Onion. You can DDoS them to hell. There's no Cloudflare to protect them.
I want it. I want to host it so I can get their domain name.
Well, the problem is there's about several million other people who want to do the same thing.
Oh, I want it so bad.
I just want to email them.
There's going to be a lot of very horrible precedents that are going to be created from the attempts to get rid of the Daily Stormer from the internet. Precedents that will be applied outside of all this debacle. There is nothing good in this symbolic fight to take down meme neo-Nazis.
What is Adrian doing?
Sitting here.
Or is that Mary? It was Mary. Never mind. I was like, what's going on in the background?
The Pokemon. Yeah.
Well, I'm here to wade into this. I figured you all would be talking about these sorts of things, and I'm a huge supporter of the First Amendment, but I think when hate speech becomes incites violence, that's where you have to draw the line. And to show up and just start, raising hell. I don't think that law enforcement was prepared for those people. And the scariest thing to me was the I don't know if there were 100 militiamen, but all these militiamen that showed up with their AKs, walking around in body armor. It could have been a lot worse.
Agreed.
And I don't know how you stop that. The only thing I have to say about that is that, there's a point where it becomes brandishing, and there are laws against brandishing, but I think they were just so overwhelmed that they should have had some idea just based upon the night before. But it's a mess. And I've actually had Weave talk to my students before. Now he's been on very good he's been very good about not going on rants, anti-racial rants. He'll talk about the AT&T case and First Amendment free speech, but I think I'm going to have to stop. I'm just not interested in moving forward with that.
I don't see how the Daily Stormer can be pinned on Charlottesville. I don't see any pictures of people wearing Pepe shirts or anime or Trump anime hats.
I understand, but I think that people have been calling those memes racist for a while. To be associated at this point with this Daily Stormer and associated even with that sort of troll culture is just sort of ended. It's no longer going to be tolerated.
The one thing, well, two things for that. The one nexus Weave has, I think, was beyond the pale, was essentially calling for people to physically attend and disrupt the funeral of the person who died in Charlottesville.
I agree, and
that's tacky even for Weave.
Yeah, it's tacky for Weave.
That was.
It's over the top, and it's bad.
As far as memes being racist or and the like, there is. Let's rephrase this. Even the Anti-Defamation League, it's probably been the most measured voice in all this, funny enough. They say Pepe, for example. It had been used for years prior to Hillary's ill-fated speech about the alt-right.
Right.
And the overwhelming majority of its use was not racist in the least.
Right.
It was to the point where I saw children wearing Pepe shirts in the carnival.
Somebody ringing.
Somebody's like, hang up. Man, this is annoying. Sorry about that.
So, you know, I saw something from Ben Shapiro, the conservative traditional Jew, and he was talking about how Milo essentially popularized the alternative right beyond this fringe fanatical group that really no one paid attention to.
He helped mainstream it very
He helped
much.
mainstream it, yeah. And, you know, it's interesting, the ADL, they have a really, you know, interesting relationship with, say, the ACLU when it comes to somebody like Linda Sarsour, because, you know, she's shouting Allah Akbar, you know. So is that then hate speech, you know, that doesn't get treated the same way in terms of this First Amendment stuff?
I think it's different. I think that once you have that tipping point where you see violence in the streets based upon what a certain group is doing, and the fact that that many people could gather is also frightening, with the intentions of disruption and violence and intimidating people. You know, once, you know, used to find Milo quite amusing, and even that now I'm done with it. You know, if we had a situation where there was a mass event where people were using other sorts of religions in order to incite violence, it's, you know, I understand your point, but I think that there are limits to free speech, and I'm very much a First Amendment advocate. But I just think that we've seen a watershed event in this country, and I don't see a way back. What do y'all think about removing Confederate statues? Have you talked about that yet?
Not really, but I mean, honestly,
I think it's a bad idea.
It's what does it really? Here's my question: what does it really solve? It doesn't change history.
Well, no, I mean, I look at it strictly from a historical aspect of fucking don't remove them. Leave them the fuck up.
Just leave it there. Like, I mean, removing it, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we got bigger problems than removing statues. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, history was not a cool place. Like, you know, at that time, during that time when those statues were made or whatever, or when that person was the general was alive or whatnot, nobody had equal rights except, you know, the white man. Black people were slaves. It was a rough time. But all I'm saying is like, if we move, here's the thing: if we take down the statues, right? So we take down all the statues, what does it really change? Slavery already happened. It still happens.
Well, those statues were erected. They were erected in the early 1900s, mainly to reinforce Jim Crow laws. And I think that you maybe not destroy them, move them someplace else.
No, fuck that. Because because even here in Louisville, the local government moved a statue that was on the grounds of U of L. They moved it from Louisville to Brandenburg, which is a small city way the fuck out in Hardin County. I mean, me personally, I felt that it needed to relocate somewhere within the Louisville city limits, so that we leave it up there. We still are able to have the discussion.
From an art and for me, from an artist standpoint, and I made this point to a couple of people. Someone else I was talking the other day was the statues themselves. Number one, some of them are technically war memorials to soldiers that lost their lives, and they're technically protected. Even if you didn't agree with what was going on, those people still fought and died. So that's one thing. The other thing is you have statues like, you know, Caesar's and Pharaoh and all these other Roman things. I guarantee you there are people that were pissed at them at one point or another, but further down the line we still look at them and we go, okay, well, this was the technique that was used to make this in this bronzing, and you can still look at it from a technical and artistic standpoint. So there's other, you know, things change over time.
Didn't the mayor of Charlottesville reference the founding fathers and put his foot in his mouth when he referenced Jefferson?
Probably.
I mean, that's a slippery slope. You know, Jefferson was slave owner. John Marshall, you know, I teach at Marshall University. John Marshall, slave owner. Robert C. Byrd, member of the KKK. Everything in the state is named after him. They want to yank down the Stonewall Jackson statue,
Right.
which is on the grounds of our state capitol, and now people are pointing at the bird statue, which is inside the state capitol.
Well, here's my point. That's and think about it. Okay, say we remove all the statues, remove all of that.
They get
That's still not
offended by
gonna raise
something
the
else.
issue.
What's the difference? There'll just be something else that's going to offend somebody.
Right. What
Right,
are
that's
we
what I'm
going
saying.
to do next? Remove Washington. Remove the Washington Monument because hey, Washington was a slave owner.
Well,
That's a giant penis.
here's part of
It's
the
a giant
slippery
penis.
slope argument is that it's a logical fallacy. A slippery slope argument's a logical fallacy. And I think what we need to address and focus on is what's happening right now. You know,
Right.
and then let's move forward. You know, 20, 30 years from now, they may decide, you know, maybe, you know, even though Byrd in his later life made sure that the Voters' Rights Act was passed and he really had a change of heart. He was no longer quite the radical racist he was in the
Right.
1940s. And you know, he sort of, he says, quote is, you have to be Saul before you become Paul. So you have to be a devil before you become redeemed. So you know, there's an argument there. Even with Lee did not want statues. Lee had a huge change of heart. Lee said before the war, the way Virginia goes is the way I go, and he really saw it as being, you know, loyal to his state. But after the war, he said, let's put all these things away, and it's heal. So a lot of these statues, all these statues have background stories. A lot of statues were erected, you know, during Reconstruction and in the early 1900s because there were still people who believed the South should rise again.
The South should rise again.
Yeah, and I think that when people point at these things now, that's what they're saying. I mean, you don't go to England and find statues of William the Orange in London. There's, well, you definitely don't find, you know, everyone uses the case of the swastika and the Nazis in Germany, but you know, we have one of these statues almost everywhere in the country, in little towns, big cities, and the question becomes, what is the symbolism behind these statues? If they were used as ways of changing history, there's some statues that have plaques on them that are completely untrue.
Right.
There was the one in there's the one in New Orleans where it was a Civil War monument, but it was actually, they were talking about the people who had started a riot and were killed, but actually it was one of the largest loss of lives for the New Orleans police force. So, you know, it's, I think we have to ask, what's the purpose of the statue? It just can't be, let's remove all statues. I think we have to have a discussion about what we're doing here.
Well,
and, you know, go ahead.
Well, in New Orleans, just recently, they tagged Joan of Arc statue.
Yeah.
Take this down, and it's like that has nothing to do with the Civil War or anything. That's Joan of Arc.
Yeah. I mean, that makes no sense to me. You can't make an argument for that. Joan of Arc did not lead a rebellion in the United States. Joan of Arc did not, you know, disrespect the Constitution and kill her fellow countryman in the United States. Now, if you're talking about a Joan of Arc statue in France, I think you've got a different argument.
Yeah, she was an uppity white girl. That's all people. They see the color. She's an uppity white girl. Tear her down.
Well,
tearing down all these statues, what does it solve?
Nothing.
If you come by the definition
how's it going to
stuff
improve
for the
our
US?
first way of life?
I'm sorry.
That would be, you know what? That would be like, okay, prime example. That would be like me as a black man, and I go around hating every white person, calling them my oppressor, and I wasn't alive. Yeah, my ancestors were oppressed, but I ain't seen an oppressed day in my life. How can I go around? What does it really solve?
Do you live in the South?
Yeah, I live in Virginia.
Okay. So I just wanted the backstory. So okay.
Yeah. but that's what I'm saying. How can I go around hating every white person, and and they haven't done shit to me?
Well, I don't think anyone's
physically.
asking you to.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, what would it solve if
No, I mean
did
there
that?
there are black nationalists.
Yeah, they are.
And
I think it's nuts.
I think when you
I'm
take
sorry.
extreme views about things and
Yeah.
you start inciting violence, it changes the whole
It changes the
dialogue.
whole tone. People, here's point in case. People have the right. They can feel how they want to feel. Believe what you want to believe. But when, like you said, when you get to the violent aspect, it just changes the whole new ball game. Whole new ball game. Like, I don't think anybody has.
From an insurgency standpoint, I don't understand why anyone would have this, this public display of direct action if they had actual political aims. From an operational security standpoint, that makes no sense to me.
I think they felt emboldened. I think they felt emboldened by the Republican, the establishment embracing of their movement, or they felt that they were being embraced.
Right.
And
but I mean, I don't care who you are, what
them.
your agenda is. If you're out in the street with guns in 2017, you are an idiot.
That's something they've always wanted to do. They're trying to start the racial war.
Yeah, they're trying to bring it back.
And the idea of we saw violence that was physical violence. We didn't see any gun violence, but is that the next step? What's going to happen to the next time? I mean, tiki core torches are now a symbol of racism. When you see a tiki torch, what do you think? Well, I'm just saying, this is a snap judgment. If you saw a tiki torch today, what do you think of?
I think of memes.
Somebody's having a barbecue.
Well, I hope that's what people think of, but I mean, to me, that's like, oh shit, Charlottesville.
Tiki torches. Charlottesville. That's the first thing that popped in their mind.
I think the white people were just too damn lazy to make torches, in my opinion.
or at least get some fucking tape.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh man,
how can you be that lazy? It's a stick, a rag, and some diesel fuel.
Yeah, if you're going to do it right.
You're not doing it yourself.
Proper props,
Make Magazine can do an article.
There's a theatrical aspect of it.
What about the pitchforks?
Yeah, no proper pitchfork.
I can't say I agree much about the violent speech distinction here. For one thing, we have President sitting Commander-in-Chief who released a memo talking about naming Antifa as one of the big boogeyman. If we're going to talk about trying to put a lot of pressure, trying to draw a line between hate speech and types of violence, the institutions that are going to enforce this can be government institutions at some point, and they're not. And horrible as it is, our Commander-in-Chief is not the kind of person who will reject help from the modern KKK.
Right.
I think
and our president's an idiot.
Here's what I say to that is that when when the Women's League of Women Voters start having mass protests and inciting violence, they too become terrorists.
Of course.
So that, to me, that's the tipping point. And this threat's always been around, and we've always talked about them being there, the alt-right, and they were always like, they're awful, they're bad. But when you show up in a town and basically freaking take it over and beat the hell out of everyone who disagrees with you, that's problematic.
That's when it's a problem.
If the League of Women Voters did the same thing, that would be a problem. So I'm not saying this is a special case. I think that there has to be a tipping point where speech becomes violence. It's okay to shout. Is it okay to shout fire in a movie theater?
No. Yes, actually, it is in many cases.
Well, if there's a fire, yes.
If there's a fire.
Yeah.
Or if it wasn't loud enough and people didn't panic.
Is it okay to yell movie in a crowded firehouse?
Is blood
Actually, yeah, it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay to shout movie because we'll just be like, yo, you better be bringing it though. You better have popcorn.
I'm sorry.
It's a fake word.
Is BLM considered a hate group? I was arguing with someone yesterday that KKK or white supremacists, BLM, Antifa, when you boil it down to it, it's essentially a hate group, and they're just spreading fear and hate.
No, they're all. I think they're all
Well,
equal.
I mean, it depends. Oh, never mind. Oh,
Wait, the person that argued with me said BLM is not a hate group; it's a racial movement, and they do nothing with hate. And
No.
this is what they said.
Oh no.
This is what they said. BLM uses racism against racism to abolish racism.
Well, you can't fight
Same
racism.
kind of
with
argument.
racism.
Where are you talking about terrorists? You're talking about freedom fighters. It's a matter of framing it that way.
Well, here's the thing: is that whenever you talk about hate groups, you're going to have your own definition. But really, to operationalize the term hate group, you have to look at outside sources. Does the Southern Poverty Law Center say they're a hate group? And in the case of BLM, they say no. Is there a state law designating them as a hate group? As our national authorities watching them? There probably are national authorities watching them for threat intelligence. So I guess you have to say, how do you operationalize the term hate group? You could say that the Boy Scouts are hate groups because they don't let girls in. Well, they've started doing that now, but you can apply this to anyone.
Well, okay.
I can from first responder. Let me that yes they are, because they have put call out to action on multiple occasions, and we've had warnings placed on us when they specifically say attack the police, attack the firefighters, attack EMS. As soon as you get into that, where you're telling your people to go after any authority figure that they disagree with, you've crossed the.
That I would agree with 100%.
I would classify them as a hate.
Be labeled under terrorist activity or terrorism in general?
I'm uncomfortable with trying to expand the definition of terrorism in general. We started out as, really bigly pushing that. And after 9/11, it was pretty much never really given a concrete definition. Essentially, people started calling these things explosions terrorism. And now we have people calling internet trolls terrorists. We have people calling a single hit and run terrorists.
That's bullshit.
Where's the line?
So check this out, you guys. Though I don't want to hear about your direct action unless you are the Mossad or ISIS working together in Syria. Otherwise, you're full of shit, and somebody else is pulling your strings. You're not doing anything, you're not making any kind of real military impact. And, compared to other people and other techniques of persuasion, you're not really getting your agenda across. Whether you're right wing, left wing, you're probably just caught up in somebody else's mess. Unless you are special forces on the ground, you are being coordinated and probably played by someone else. That's my opinion. I'm not going to say why, that might be or what foreign policy agendas there might be at place. I just think it's all BS. I don't buy any of it.
You're probably right.
Of course not, because when it comes to the local BLM here, Sunday I was at an Indian restaurant, and they decided to hold a march in the most liberal part of the fucking city. And I just didn't get it. I was like, look, why don't you take this shit west of 9th Street and try it out? They was like, no, we won't, because they're afraid they'll fucking get robbed, because it was 95% white people and like 3 black people. And I was like, if you guys are talking about Black Lives Matter, why don't you take it to the part of town where the shootings are happening?
Because they're scared and they don't want to get robbed. Which isn't necessarily racism, or maybe just stereotype. But
I'm just saying, sure, ISIS might be a terror group. It's kind of weird to have Mossad assisting them in Syria. That was in the BBC, common knowledge. Yeah, those might be terrorist groups. Maybe my enemy's friend and my enemy, whatever. I just don't think, unless you're a serious actor, then shut the fuck up and put your gun away.
But if you look at, neo-Nazis, they've been around forever. Since World War II, apparently. We have the Stokey case from the early 1970s, where there was a Supreme Court case that said that they had a right to march. We have there's a compound here in West Virginia. The guy that wrote the Turner Diaries, which inspired Timothy McVeigh, that compound is still there, but mostly they've died out or moved on. And the number of terror groups that are still around, Idaho is full of neo-Nazis. West Virginia has a number of groups. Every state has a number of groups. It's kind of frightening because people are still out there.
Right, Dawson Springs used to have the KKK compound, but it's mostly just like 10 or 15 people, and they don't fuck with nobody because
Right.
the people in Dawson Springs don't take lightly to them.
Yeah.
They-
They
And
just want
Right.
to go.
Did you see?
And that's generally how they are everywhere. But when they all get together in Charlottesville, you know, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And my question is, who coordinated this? Was it?
I don't even know. Did they even say who coordinated in Charlottesville?
No, I don't think that anyone has said who's coordinated, who planned it, who came up with the idea of tiki torches, who came up with the idea there were uniforms, who coordinated the militias to be there. There's a lot of unanswered questions about how this could happen.
Well,
It was.
see, I did see on Twitter some like flyer, a picture of a flyer. Pretty much, it was said that this was what the neo-Nazis were shown. Here's where it gave logistics. Gather here for
actually-
the march or whatever.
God, I actually have information on that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Again, because actually was posted because one of the morons that organizes is actually fairly local.
Oh, that's good.
Adrian, he's like halfway between the two of us down at Jasper or Orleans or some shit. He's from Maryland originally and married into a family in the county, and he's been on the news and in trouble a couple of times recently for being very outspoken. Give me a second. So
They
you can
just
pull
did
this.
a Vice special on Charlottesville. Someone posted a link to me earlier today. Would be interesting if it was that guy. Their main.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organization that had to take place for this to happen, and
But
it's almost amazing.
But it was on both sides too, though, because you also had to get the other ones to come to counter protest.
The counter protesters. Yeah.
And that was the other thing that I mentioned earlier. In my
those folks are active on Twitter and pretty open, though. I mean, they have existing networks.
Anyway, so Matthew Heimbach was the one from Pioli. Apparently, he was part of the planning on some of this. And Maryland native that married to Indiana family works for weeks to promote the event. So he was one of the ones that was promoting. But remember, like I said, I'd still say both sides are equally at fault here. And I'm sticking with that. I'm not backing down on it because both sides, you have extremists on either side. You're going to have, there's going to be stupid. But if the question's on this one, Matthew Heimbach was one of them.
Yeah, 4 hours ago, there's a number of stories. There's two in the USA Today. There's a PBS story that's a day old. Indy Star has a story.
Yeah, Indy usually does.
Southern Poverty Law Sister has information on him.
But you got to remember, and we discussed this earlier before you came on, Bill, was even if you look at that car video, they didn't pull bats out of their asses, and Antifa has a history of beating the shit out of people and being violent for counter-protesting.
Well, if somebody was running a car with me, I would probably hit it with a bat, too.
Yeah, but where did the bat come from?
Well, I mean,
why
do people,
club, you know?
Why do people conceal carry?
There's Redneck Revolt or Redneck Shooting Club or whatever it is in Arizona, which is a left wing.
But either way, it's like no, they have come to the last multiple rallies.
Self-defense. If I were going to go protest against,
no, it's not. It's not self-defense when you're purposely going there to start shit.
Well, I don't think there is. Well, I don't think
that's in both sides.
I don't think there
is this
any evidence
moment we
that
can finally say the right wing is violent? Is that what Charlottesville was? We can finally say there was a right wing group that was violent because it's been nothing but left wing groups that have been violent. I mean, on the record, pretty much.
So if you
I
go,
think you have to look at each case too.
Proactive self-defense.
Yeah, I think that. I understand where you're coming from, Mary, but I didn't see the counter protesters starting shit.
If I could just say something real quick, just on the basic political philosophy, what roving bands of right-wing coadjutors? The right-wing coadjutors are the police. If you're a fascist, if you're right-wing, you're establishmentarian generally. You know, so you're in the military, you're following orders, da-da-da-da-da. So the left wing is gonna, resist that traditionally. So until you had the concept of the alt-right, even the idea of people being armed in the streets as a right winger is just nonsense.
Some of those who wear the workforces also burn crosses, right? That the idea is that maybe they are members of the KKK or they might have membership in the local militia. But the flip side of that is not all of them do. But there were allegations in Charlottesville that the police stood with their hands in their pockets because they were actually, they didn't want to get in the way of Nazis marching through their town with torches.
Hold on, I actually have the James book. This is how you do incident management.
What you looking up?
A tiki torch is really just a torch with a little candle in it. So if you really think about
like
it,
a Catholic church on Christmas Eve.
all they did is a candlelight march, really.
Yeah, I don't go with that. I think there were the optics on that was to strike terror with their tiki torches.
If you want, you're not used to tiki torches to strike terror into anything. That was just poor planning on anyone's part. If that was
Well,
the
I'm
attempt.
saying the use of torches in general was used to strike terror. I mean, there was reminiscent of a KKK rally.
I agree with that. Hey, y'all, sorry, I wanted to butt in here. Sorry if I'm cutting off anybody, but I do agree with that. I think it was time to kind of create the resemblance of how it looked in the past.
It was
Without breaking
shittily portrayed.
It was
laughable.
a good idea, but I think
yeah.
they didn't have a lot of options, and they kind of thought, well, it would look intimidating. It didn't, but
You're jumping in. I told you. 6 rags and diesel fuel. They didn't even try. That was theatrical bullshit.
Mike was offering any sale on like torch making devices or anything like that. But I mean,
there needs to be a major class.
The hardcore people probably know how to make torches. The other was like, well, if we don't have a thing verse, the 3D printed, I'm just going to have to buy a tiki torch.
There you go.
We could buy them in bulk and get a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Super inbred and questionable amounts of brain cells to begin with. So if they had the mental capacity to figure out how to wrap a rag around a stick.
Here's the thing. Look at those people in those pictures. There's a lot of 18 to 20-year-olds. There's a lot of 18 to 24-year-old young men that look like they're in a Vineyard Vines ad. It looked like the preppy riots. I mean, and that's what scares me. I mean, we all know the rednecks, that people look like they had, they want gene purity, but they look like their family tree don't fork. They, we're familiar with this, but the people who were, look like they were going to a Young Republicans meeting were the people who scared me the most.
The other thing I honestly still question, and this is something else we talked about earlier, is honestly, how do we know that this isn't just more staged shit just because the media needs stories? Because we have these both sides clashing and all this bullshit going on, and yeah, you're going to get a few regulars mixed up in it, which is where you have tragedy come from with this whole card thing.
The media barely covered the story until
not the media. But if I may, I said this earlier. If you had crazy people on either side, wouldn't you stage it?
Stage what?
So
that wasn't real blood.
No, I'm saying.
No, it's not. I'm
not a real car crash.
No, I'm not.
Really lost their life.
No,
yeah.
What I'm saying is to start the conflict, and then if you get regular people mixed up in that, then you end up with some shit like what happened with the car wreck. But how much of this is like we just want more friggin' stories, so we're gonna just stir shit up.
Well, that's exactly what they want. They felt that they had been adopted by the establishment, and they were like, "We're going to go out and show some force." No. This is not the first time they've marched in Charlottesville.
I gotta say, I agree.
No, but it's both. I'm telling you, it's not. You can't just keep saying, "Oh, it's the one side," because it's both. Because the same shit happened back in Berkeley, where it was a First Amendment free speech rally.
How many people
and that's
died
all that
there?
they were doing was having a problem.
no one died there. This was the first time we've had a death, but I'm not right now. We're just focusing on
Well,
what
except
is
for the cops in
what
Dallas.
led up to this and where we're going to be going from here. What I'm afraid of is where this is going to go is going to continue to escalate. Because when we started in Berkeley, there was a free speech rally. There was all races were there. There was very even. It was just there to say, hey, we should be able to support our First Amendment right. And it was done like that. But then you had Antifa come in and they started beating the shit out of them with bats.
Yeah, that's
where
problematic. I agree with you. When you escalate to violence, it's a problem.
Yeah. And then what happened because of that, then that got all these shitheads stirred up, and then they continued to escalate it, and that's where Charlotte came in. Because
I don't know if they're directly I don't see a direct.
And now we're going to push back. There's a direct correlation.
I don't see a direct correlation. I
Because
disagree
it
with
stirred
you.
them up. No, because it stirred them up. Berkeley stirred them up when there was an attack on this regular rally. And that stirs up the shitheads. And then the shitheads come out in force on both sides. And then you start a rally over here. And these guys come again with bats. And then it's just going to keep
I don't
going.
like the both sides argument either. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I respect your opinion, but I disagree with your opinion.
Trump shouldn't have waited to disavow the alt-right.
That's a huge problem. That is a huge
I
problem.
agree with that. I think that's where a lot of this stemmed from. I wish he had done something about it sooner.
And what's emboldened, I think, the neo-Nazi movement or the alt-right is the anti-immigration. ICE is going to shut down every Mexican restaurant within 20 miles of me because they keep hauling off the restaurant owner and the staff. You have sort of this xenophobic wave that has been institutionalized and is sweeping America, and this emboldens these people who have these ideas. And I think that's the correlation. Although I'm sure that what happened in Berkeley's part of it. They're like, let's go crack some hippie heads. I'm sure that was also in their plan. I think they planned to go there and start shit. And the fact that they had I don't know, I think I counted maybe 30 guys in body armor and AKs, it could have been a lot worse.
Look, it's important to keep this in perspective. I mean, there were reportedly 1,500 people there. For comparison's sake, BronyCon still has over 6,000 people going. A convention about bone menu like My Little Pony.
How violent are they?
Nazis are a sickness.
Well,
on the nation.
Are they really?
Ashamed of.
Are they
But
really
they're
violent?
not an existential threat.
Bill, I got to point you to this chick, Holly Ziegler. She holds office in Maine. She's a progressive. She's a Bernie head, and she's calling out the paid protesters. And she's like, "Are you going to call me alt-right?" And so she's pointing out that the identity politics are driving the progressive left under the table, and it's doing the same things, the co-opting are doing the same things that they did in the 1970s that ended up, harming the Black liberation movement and so forth.
I agree. Identity politics is troubling, and we are too immersed in identity politics. I don't know. I know a lot of people have gone and protested. Protested against repeal and replace of Obamacare, and have gone and protested against Trump's visit here to Huntington, and I can't find anyone who was paid.
Greg Q recently retweeted something.
And that's just my own personal. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that's my own personal experience.
I've met paid once, but I lived in Hollywood.
There's been people who there are people who go to multiple rallies, have a lot of money, and either there's some wealthy skinheads who can travel a lot, or there are people who look identical with the identical birthmarks who just happen people who just happen to look coincidentally identical to other people from previous rallies are going to these conventions. Going to these rallies. I would sound
it's hard for me to really understand what you guys are talking about. So I haven't heard a single celebrity talk about this yet.
That's a really good point. I'm waiting for at least somebody to say something, because I've seen a couple of celebrities, but all of them are like, how can we, we need to all collectively apologize for being white, and how can we support Black people better? Which, I mean, it's a valid question, but if that's your only question you're asking about Charlottesville, I think you're missing the point.
I've seen a couple of Black actors, not support the the movement or Antifa or whatnot. They're like, oh no, I totally disagree about this, etc., etc. We are Americans, not the color of our skin.
Exactly.
I'm confused about how Antifa
They're
is even a thing.
This
I
is
first heard about them like
themselves
3 years
for
ago.
the new millennium of the actors to go. Oh no, we need to help you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like Meryl Streep to say something, or at least
And we-
somebody that's really going to come out and criticize, because that they seem to feel compelled to lecture to everybody else, but they're living in their little bubble. So I'm also waiting for that. I haven't seen a lot of that yet.
I'm sure our moral compass will wake up somewhere in their Hollywood trailer at some point and tell us the right way to think.
That's exactly it. We need their guidance. I mean, we're lost without them.
Damn
And they
you,
will make
Church of
sure we know
Scientology.
about that over and over.
Let's switch it up just for a second. What about North Korea? There are current tests with the rockets reach 10,000 feet in, or 10,000 miles or something along those lines.
We're all going to die. And
Yeah. So what is it? Are we
that's real
getting
news.
a civil war or World War III?
I think it's going to be both at once.
The civil. It's 1,500 skinheads. It's not a civil war.
it's a bunch. It's like, well, hell, random. Okay, this is what you do. You give half of them blue uniforms. You give half of them gray uniforms. You find a nice big field. You give them both weapons, and you just turn them loose, and everyone else stands back and let the problem take care of itself.
No. You give them broken bottles and sticks.
Oh yeah,
And let
sticks
them
can
have
work
at it.
too. Or no, tiki torches. They can have tiki torches and sticks, and then we just let this go. Go at it. Go have fun.
I'm sorry you are afraid of a nuclear war. I lived with it my entire life.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know why y'all so nervous. I'm the hazmat technician. Who do you think has to go in and save everyone else's ass?
Yeah, maybe all that prep and shit I did will finally pay off.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you live?
He lives not far from this quiet zone thing where we should have just bought that village. They had a really nice fire department already set up.
Yeah, someone bought that. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with it.
Oh, I wanted that too.
Yeah, North Korea thing doesn't bother me that much. Have you been to nukemap.com, I think it is, or nukemap.org? You can actually drop a bomb on a map and figure out how big the blast zone is, how big the radiation zone is. I'm not sure the North Koreans can get this far.
No, they're not going to get this far, but
precedent of starting a nuclear war.
Secretary Mathis extended the line to where he says if they hit Guam, then he's going to treat it as an attack on U.S. soil.
It's U.S. territory.
Well,
here's the thing: is that according to all the military strategists, is that this is what they say. There'll be a lot of losses, especially in Seoul, but they think that the regime will crack. So the Chinese have now gotten nervous because they really don't want American troops on their border, and now they've actually started moving to punish North Korea as well. But it's interesting.
Everybody hates America.
Have you guys heard of Revolution in Military Affairs?
No, I've not.
Look it up. Everything from cyber, of course, to asymmetric warfare, to psyops, to basically we're not going to fight with standing armies ever again, pretty much.
Yeah.
So an example of this is so China's so worried about troops on the border. Well, why'd they import Eric Prince to do all their border patrolling?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just wrote a paper on social engineering and asymmetric warfare, which should get published here soon.
Yeah.
Oh, I look forward to reading it.
But you're right. I mean, we're in a different. But when you look at the North Koreans, I think that it'd be sort of like fighting the Romans, because they're going to mass troops. They're going to push. Going to shell the South, and try to nuke Guam. There's still kind of a paradigm that's needs to be addressed in sort of a conventional way.
According to them, we're still technically in a war with them since 1953.
Well,
we are.
We are.
They totally dislike and feel that America's, I guess it's from the propaganda on their side.
Well, we signed a ceasefire agreement. I don't don't think there was ever a peace accord in the Korean
That
War.
was my understanding too. It's like I don't recall. I mean, and I knew that I could be totally wrong on it, but my understanding has always been that it was just a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what kicked off the whole era of police actions.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like there was no formal agreement that ever really ended things.
Well, in the case of the police action, that was a UN. You know, it was UN's first police action. UN's done a number of peacekeeping since then, but I think there might be another police action. I can't think of one that's quite as
technically Vietnam was a police action.
Yeah, I guess we did have multinational forces there.
But why does North Korea hate us so much? Us specifically?
Because some crazy man's been running the country for the last 50 years.
We are the great Satan.
This is the irony, you know, the Anglo-American Empire. You know, I spent some time as a radical in my younger days.
And then it falls silent.
I feel like I'm missing
Are you
out.
gonna
I'm
say
not
something
radical
cool?
about anything, so I feel like I'm clearly at a disadvantage here because apparently everybody went through like a radical or a liberal phase except me. I've pretty much been a straight, you know, kind of same way I am now, so I feel like I'm missing out.
Oh, well, no, that usually happens early 20s college. I went to art school.
I mean,
so it was kind of
that never happened to me. So clearly something was really screwed up in my upbringing.
I grew up in upstate New York near Woodstock for a couple of years, and then I transferred to art college. So I had to go through that. It was a requirement.
That's a rite of passage for art student. That would make sense.
I was a lesbian in college.
Awesome. Are you still lesbian?
Shit out of me if I gone down that path. I mean, that was just not an option.
Still is.
Yep, still am.
I thought we were all lesbians at one point in college.
And
a
it's time for truth or dare.
So, it's not like I had a real liberal college to go to.
Where'd you go?
Indiana University Southeast.
No, okay. I got to spend some time in Indiana recently. Went up to Purdue. It's very flat there, and the fact that you all still have like movie stores where you can go rent movies was kind of cool.
I don't think Lafayette has those anymore. The only no correction,
one,
we have a movie store in Bloomington.
There was one in Lafayette
where you can rent.
There's one here in Morganton.
You can still get DVDs in Bloomington.
I thought that was pretty cool.
What was the?
North Carolina. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in the direct area I live in, and within 15 miles, there's two of them.
That's cool.
There's actually still one store close to where I live, but they specialize in like really foreign art movies and really odd stuff you wouldn't find anywhere else. So I'm happy to see them survive because I didn't think that there would be anybody I didn't think they would get enough business to support themselves, but they're still around.
Well, record stores are now reopened too, which I thought would never happen.
A record store as well. That's the coolest thing.
We have two here.
Actually, a record store too.
Yeah, like 4 in Bloomington. If you can though, see if you can rent Tampopo and attack the gas station.
What you have to do is go through the back door or around the corner to the porn area.
They still have those?
Yeah, but it's only in basement.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they still have those or not.
Yes, they do. Because Family Video still does in Bedford and Bloomington.
Well, I guess some people never discovered the internet. I don't know, understand that one.
No, I mean I respect the fact that people like still want to have that experience, but yeah, it's personally I'm like I don't know. I kind of moved past that, but I do find it neat. I mean, I'll put it this way: record stores I can understand the sound quality is still good. I'm not opposed to doing that, but like old time going and actually still keeping a VHS player and running old movies and stuff. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
As far as internet stuff, 10% of the nation doesn't have internet right still. So
I barely have internet.
Policymakers call it digital divide.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, there's definitely parts of I know when we go and visit certain parts of Western New York, actually, where family live, it's their internet is so spotty that I can see that.
I don't just mean crappy internet, which is a much larger portion. I'm saying there is literally no internet for 10% of the U.S.
Adrian, would you like to speak to the wonderful internet that Hackers on the Farm gets yearly? Adrian knows he's been to my house, and this is good right now.
Eventually, we're all going to go to your house. I'm just saying.
You all need to come. Actually, we're having an eclipse party on Monday. Nightshade's supposed to come. We're going to be butchering rabbits on Sunday, and then I'm doing campfire cooked rabbit stew on Monday for the eclipse party.
The big one.
Where
The eclipse
are
is
you
on
again?
Monday.
I'm going to be live streaming it, guys. If anybody wants to see it, I'm
That'd
going
be
to post it.
perfect.
We'll
That way
probably
I
might
won't go blind.
Yeah, if we can, we might be able to do it here too, because I know he's bringing his telescope and some specialized equipment. And we're far enough south that we should get almost total, not quite, but we're gonna.
And
it's
that's
gonna
Yeah, we're close enough to the border where there's we're gonna have a pretty reasonable looking or like a viewing spot in Tennessee. It's like we're
oh yeah, that's even better. Yeah, Tennessee's even better.
First
Where
day
are
of
you at,
classes.
Tennessee? Yeah, first day of classes.
It is first day of classes.
Can't you just put off the eclipse so my kid can watch it?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it's just not convenient.
Just change the sun and the moon so that it's okay. And you haven't. Oh, she hasn't seen it. Marlene, have you seen that one yet?
Which one?
The mom actually asked when they said, "Hey, the
Oh,
solar
it
eclipse
was
is
a
happening."
mom. It was Alex Hammerstone.
Oh no!
Yeah,
It wasn't even Alex. Alex joked about it because someone else actually did it.
Yeah.
Damn that Alex.
Awesome. It's an awesome troll.
Oh my god! Please don't. Oh my god! No,
I
yeah,
do.
we're watching.
People.
But I have to admit, I'm more excited about what you were just saying about the rabbit stew that you're making. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. A couple of years ago, I thought I would do like a traditional German rabbit stew, like my family's recipe. And at the time, I'll put it this way. Husband was he was doing good talk. He was like all geared up for this rabbit stew. And I got a whole rabbit from the farmer's market, and it was skinned, but all the organs were still intact. So I started to like pull the organs out.
Oh, they had to prep for dog food, not people food. That's
Oh, it was
horrible.
pretty cool. So I called him over. He turned the best shade of green I've ever seen a human being turn. It was awesome. It was legendary. And I was like, check this out. This is so cool. And he just turned green, walked out of the kitchen completely quiet. And that was the end of my rabbit stew days. I have not yet made a rabbit stew since then.
I've made a great crock pot one. I used a whole. Actually, I just made rabbit tonight. I have what's left of the rabbit on the stove. I made a quick one for a test recipe, and but yeah, no, I just did rabbit tonight. Actually,
it's so good. It's a really good recipe.
Okay, you see, like this. There's the shoulder.
There you go.
There's the
Yeah, look how pretty.
We tend to eat rabbit at least once a week, so.
Oh,
it's delicious. Nice meat. It cooks really easy. It's not chewy like game or anything like that. I actually like cooking it because it cooks really soft.
Yeah, and I raise New Zealand white, so I have like 8 out there right now. So we're gonna probably pick 2 big ones, and then I've finally have a regular buyer who's gonna her doggy has a protein allergy, so she's gonna be regularly buying kits off of me.
You by any chance show any of your rabbits? I'll put it in. The reason I'm asking is we have a cousin who's a rabbit show judge. That's a real thing, people. Yeah. He makes a career traveling around the country to rabbit shows.
They make good money. They make good money judging rabbits.
That's what I heard.
But my God, I have a couple out there. I spent $40 a piece on for.
I'm in the wrong business.
Exactly.
Hell, I've seen them go up to $100 for really good breeding stock. So.
Have you thought about raising bison yet?
I got neighbors kind of that do.
There are people here who do.
Yeah. I know there's people in New York that do. I raise Icelandic sheep, son and dairy goats, New Zealand rabbits. We did broilers this year. Adrian's no longer. He's gone, isn't he? Are you even on the thing?
It's his hangout.
I'm here.
Are you still here? Right? Okay, cool. Well, for the we've done pig. We've discussed that we did a whole hog this year, for the roast. I'm going to probably buy a turkey off of a carry again for Thanksgiving. I bought a live turkey offer and.
A live one?
I can't do it.
She came over.
Name them.
Meat comes from the grocery store.
She came over and helped me butcher a lamb, and then we were done butchering the lamb. She got a leg of lamb, and I got a turkey. That was the trade-off, because. That seemed fair.
That's how you roll. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that seems fair. I got a turkey and she got a leg of lamb because she helped me do because it took us. I didn't have a buzzsaw, and cutting that stuff is work.
That is true. It's harder than people realize.
Oh yeah. But no, we raise a lot of stuff right here. And the other thing is, at least I know if I'm raising it, I know it's been raised humanely, and I know what goes in it. So.
Well, it's a shame. Well, it's a shame I won't be north. I'll actually be in Hopkinsville. So.
Is it Kentucky or Tennessee, or where is that?
Kentucky. That's where the greatest duration is going to be at.
Yeah. That's.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
Well, this is at least better than talking about the impending civil war. So I feel a little bit better now, because when I joined in the conversation tonight, I'm like, I saw that you guys were talking about politics, and I'm like, I just have to join in because I need a place to vent. So now I feel better. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're always welcome for that, because it's a good ending thing. And besides, when the Great Civil War does come, we have a cave right close to the property. We can go hide in the cave. Like I said, I raise things. We got stuff in the freezer. We're good. You know, we feed you. Be fine.
I'm just right now. My big
so much.
I need more guns. I need to stock up on guns. That's my theory.
Well,
so that's my first order of business is I need to stock up on guns, and then probably some more bottled water in the basement, and then I can, at that point, I can relax. Because it's scary to me. It really is. I didn't think things are going to get this heated so quickly.
I'm surprised it took as long as it did, because this shit's been going on for years, and so it's just coming to a head. Oh, the current political climate that's coming to a head stupidly. All the stupid.
Be careful what you believe.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Go ahead.
That is the whole thing. Is I didn't realize it was going to get so. It's going to start to hit close to home for me, because like today we had some stuff in Atlanta where they went after the wrong statue, and now the next thing is the next big target in Atlanta, at least is Stone Mountain, which is obviously hugely connected to the KKK, and it's hugely connected to the Civil War. So it's something. It's a landmark in Atlanta, and it has deep, historical context for the city, not just for. But I do understand the sentiment behind it. But it's. I mean, that's miles from where I live. So for me, it's really coming close.
Yeah, Stone Mountain is always interesting because the entire area around Stone Mountain is now completely inhabited by basically Ethiopians. And so you have this. It's basically just Ethiopia and part of Nigeria basically picked up and just inhabited that. So it's almost entirely inhabited by Africans, like actual Africans.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily just that, because if you look at the region around it, and if you look at kind of Lawrenceville Highway is the area that goes right by Stone Mountain, and it's for a long time it was known as kind of like Little Asia, because you had a lot of Ghanaians and different. Just people from different backgrounds living in that one specific area. And then I did over time start to see definitely a much more refugee-centered community, and it's predominantly refugees from African countries. But it's very interesting to kind of see that they don't seem to object to the historical context. It's people that were born and raised in the city that have a bigger problem with it. They don't really seem to see the historical aspect of it. They just think it's kind of a neat thing, this huge rock with a carving on it.
Well, I think this vigilante tearing down statue things have got to stop.
Yeah,
you have a discussion, come to a consensus in your community. It's those people should be charged with vandalism.
That's exactly it. That's how I feel. It is vandalism. That's not the way to get the conversation. I mean, I'm not. You were saying earlier, Bill, when I was listening in earlier, it's like I'm not opposed to people taking down statues, or having conversations about certain statues. But a lot of the backstory around some of the statues, it's like we need to have a conversation before we just say let's tear everything down, because some of it is relevant. Some of it is really there's no. It doesn't pose a threat to a community per se. It was erected for something different than what they think it was.
Yeah. Every statue has a story.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, Baltimore, Maryland, they tore down every single one of their statues overnight because they were afraid that the same thing was going to happen to them again.
That's so unfortunate. I mean, I think it's just, believe me, I'm very, very sympathetic coming from, as you guys know, like having a South African background, I'm extremely sympathetic to what people are saying, because I know the painful reminders of seeing, reminders of a really, really painful time in history. I get it. But I don't think tearing down statues is erasing that. I don't think you're going to get away from that past just because you took the statue down. I mean, and if they think that that's going to like just erase the past, they're going to, there's going to be an unpleasant kind of, sense at the end of all of this. It's going to be, well, now the statues are gone, but we still haven't eliminated racism. It's still going to be there.
It seemed like a bit of a corollary to what's happened to a lot of colleges a few years preceding this, where a lot of activist groups and colleges were taking down every single statue and painting they thought represented someone who was against him, someone who represented racism, sexism, cultural appropriation, whatever you name it, that crap. And their view was that by keeping those statues, but if the college kept those statues, kept those paintings, that it would be a tacit endorsement by the college, and it's a continuing endorsement of the ills those individuals in history represented. It'd be like if you had a statue of Hitler, you would be endorsing gassing the Jews.
How many statues of Hitler are there?
To my knowledge, I don't even think there's really one statue anywhere. I mean, there's certainly, if you want to look at like historical documents that belong to Hitler and things like that, there's several museums. I know the secret military museum in Berlin has several documents and several of his notebooks and artwork and things like that. But I don't think there's any real statues of him, to my knowledge.
Maybe Hitler was a bad. I didn't mean Hitler. I didn't say Hitler just specifically talk about him. I just used him as an arbitrary example of a
well, a lot of people.
As something everyone knows.
Why do we even have Albert Pike in Washington D.C.?
Wait, why do we have Lenin in Washington or in Seattle? I believe it's in Seattle. It's either Seattle or Seattle. Like, why do we have a statue of Lenin there? I don't.
Lenin in Seattle. Yeah. But and then the other thing I worried
about John Lennon.
No, we're talking about Lenin.
I'm trying to project some humor.
If it was John Lennon, at least I could be like, okay, I can live with that. I still don't get it, but I can live with it. But it's just, that one doesn't make sense.
To answer your question, there's absolutely no statues of Hitler anywhere. There's small busts.
I pretty much knew that, I certainly haven't heard of it, but it's not impossible that somebody had kept it, but I didn't think there was.
And if there are busts, I doubt they're on public display.
Exactly. They would be in extremely, they would be in private collections mostly. I know I have seen some of the historical, like his journals and stuff like that in museums, but even that is few and far between.
I've seen some of his paintings. He wasn't a bad painter.
Yeah, in art history. Well, they're freaky though. When you look at they were, you could tell that there was a deep disturbed. You could see it coming through in the.
Well, you didn't see it initially. You saw it after he became a soldier in World War I. He did the progression.
The pre-Civil War paintings in Vienna, he actually painted a scene where and put in a building that hadn't existed for 50 years. Just, I guess, from reading about it and perhaps photographs, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is definitely.
But then the other thing that kind of concerns me is I have friends down in Savannah, Georgia that run a tour company, and they all dress in period clothes, so they're in Civil War uniforms. What I'm afraid of is someone's going to go down there on vacation and start beating the shit out of these tour guides.
That is a problem.
Definitely, and there's several places in town. Like we have in Atlanta, we have a ghost tour that goes to the, to Oakland Cemetery, and that's the largest Confederacy. I wouldn't say, don't quote me on it. I don't think it's the largest per se, but certainly there's a huge section of Confederate soldier graves in there.
There's
a concern would be is like, again, people going and destroying the cemeteries, and the same thing with the cemetery around Stone Mountain. People just going and ruining what is supposed to be something that, it's a cemetery, for God's sake.
There's a Confederate monument on my great-grandfather's grave in eastern Kanawha County. If that were defaced or despoiled, I would be upset because I don't think that's part of the public decision. Now, if his memorial was in the Capitol grounds, that's a totally different sort of conversation.
True.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shut down the conversation.
Oh, no.
Actually, I need to get off here. Thanks for having me on, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Catch you later, Bill.
Later.
Bye, Bill.
Later, Bill.
Even though Bill can no longer hear me, come back anytime.
He will. He does. It's Bill. We love Bill.
Hope you guys say that about me when I leave. Jesus.
I love you, Panda Bear. Anyway.
So, you know, in terms of hunting Nazis, people have actually hunted Nazis, like real Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yes.
know.
That's an actual thing.
And in fact, Hoover had a file that he kept on, you know, Prescott Bush for trading with the enemy. This is common knowledge. You know, and the king of England at the time was a Hitler sympathizer. So I think part of where people get the idea that Republicans are Nazis is that some, you know, fairly prominent ones had that connection in their history. You know,
But-
Bush being one of them. CIA, fascist, you know, Knight of Malta, da-da-da.
But the KKK was started by Southern Democrats. So you like I said, you go back to that
There's
whole.
a big disconnect
Which
there,
is-
I think, where people
which
get
is
confused
why-
about that.
Yeah, which is why I think that people, because people were complaining earlier today about why haven't the Democrats come forward and blah 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 about say anything about the KKK. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're afraid that if they say something, people will actually look at the history and then that'll backfire on them. So that's probably why they're not going to say anything, is because of the actual history.
Maybe a good bit of projecting, you know, trying to get past that history. And it does kind of make me afraid when you're taking down the statues. Are you erasing history just the same way that you put it over? You put the horn-rimmed video, you know, the tight 60s suits and the horn-rimmed glasses to try and pretend like you own the narrative on the civil rights when you voted against civil rights.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. It's like, you know, how much of this is, oh, wait, well, we don't want people to, you know, to actually see what actually happened. Just like even Lee's estate, or I think we talked about that earlier, where he was with Virginia because it was Virginia. And that's just where it was. And then the U.S. government took over their estate and turned it into a graveyard. That's where Arlington came from.
Here's another disconnect for you guys, since we're just bird walking here. So What do you mean by Nazi? Are you talking about like racial policy? Are you talking about, you know, medical racial policy like eugenics, like what happened in Indiana in 1900 that was patterned by Hitler later?
Exactly.
It's continuing to this
People
day under
who
Planned Parenthood.
people who have
Reaganomics?
swastika flags, who wear shirts of Hitler quotes, Sig Heil, and want a white ethno-state. I call those people Nazis.
Right, but I'm just saying in terms of what is Nazi, like why do we hate Nazis, and because of the ethno-state. Another example of a huge, you know, hypocrisy that, you know, you can't say anything about. Well, you know, you can't have an ethno-state that fights for its existence. Israel.
Yeah.
Israel.
I've been to Israel. They don't fight for a state where only Jews live there. That's
I know.
That's it's not the same thing.
But I mean,
Versus Palestine does, so.
It's complicated.
Exactly. It's complicated.
At this point, my take on it is, you know, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like the idea with Nazis, people think, you know, associating it, there's certain prominent people that didn't publicly denounce it at the time. You know, again, if I look at examples of places around the world where people were harboring Nazis after World War II, I mean, a lot of Nazis had fled into former German colonies around the world. South Africa was one of them. Southwest Africa, which is today Namibia, was another one that where a lot of Nazis were actually hiding out, and until they were hunted down by the Nazi hunters. And Simon Wiesenthal's group had turned them in. And Argentina, a lot of places in South America where Nazis were hiding out. And unfortunately, if you look at the history of some of those countries, South Africa, Southwest Africa at the time, they had very conservative groups in power. By our standards, I mean, some of their policies, we would probably refer to them as nationalists. And I think to some extent, the idea came that now, you know, kind of conservatives and Republicans, nationalists defend Nazis, which is not true. But they had examples around the world where people were in power and didn't turn those Nazis in. They didn't, you know, expose them. They allowed them to live and you know, and kind of incorporate into their societies. And that's where I suspect that some of that at least came from, where people have this idea that somehow Republicans or conservatives endorse it, and that's not true.
No. Not.
Sure, and generally these days I'm pro-West. Why? Because it's the greatest quality of life that the world has seen. And I'm pretty pro-China because, well, China has modernized, and look at what they're doing compared to, say, Russia. But I do understand Russia's grievances.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you pro-Israel?
That's a tough call because we can say, well, Palestine is, they're the terrorists, but I mean, who decided what was the I can't remember the accord that they decided, not the Balfour Declaration, where they declared they're going to create a modern state of Israel. It also gets interesting in terms of the evangelicals, like declaring that Israel today is the Israel of the Bible. There's the Schofield Bible where that all happens historically. And what's interesting is he wrote that in like the 1880s. So that's the Bible where they start like changing the footnotes, and like that's where we support Israel as Israel in the Bible and whatnot. But in terms of like Western democracies, hypothetically on the surface, I would say, yeah, I mean, I support the West. So, Israel is that foothold, except that we have this really, incestuous relationship with Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So. I'm not a big enough fish to really have an opinion that matters, so I try to be as objective as possible.
That's kind of my take on it. I've been getting so much heat the past few days, especially on Twitter, from people like going after me for presenting different views, and people are like, well, we follow you because we want to hear your view. And I'm like, well, I try to present different views because I don't think my view is the only one. I don't think my view is the right one. I'm trying to present different views so people can kind of make up their own minds, but that's my philosophy, is like, I'm not big enough or important enough to have the opinion that people should be following. If it was, I'm going to apologize to those people right now if they thought I was, because I'm going to be wrong a hell of a lot.
I don't know. In terms of like why do I have a UFO? Let's talk Nazis and UFOs. So if you were the U.S. Air Force and you had just won the war against Nazi Germany, and you had also subsequently imported all of these aerospace engineers from Nazi Germany, maybe you would make a story up about a UFO crashing in the desert next to your testing facility.
Area 51.
Because it's not Nazis, it's little green men.
Like need? Anyway.
Little white bunnies?
Little white bunny.
Taking over our government?
So, in terms of, Civil War and World War III and aliens invading, and terrorists and all this, I mean, I even zoom out on that and I'm like, well, if I was in the tower and I had to keep order of all of this, what would I do?
I mean, what just freaks me out is how susceptible people are to some of these, theories and rumors and stuff that's starting, and people jump on it so fast. And before you know it, it's like a lot of things are not verified or confirmed by anybody, but people somehow have this idea that this is the direction that things are taking. For today, I was just following a whole bunch of different threads from people having theories about stuff where I'm like, there's no substance to it. We don't know if there's anything that's been actually confirmed, but they're treating it as if it's a real story.
Yeah, but that's a big problem, because it happens so much. Is that they'll jump, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier too, where people will. I gave an example that just happened like yesterday in our little town, where some genius, the local busybody, posts on Facebook, someone showed up at the school with an AK-47, and what actually happened was the reason the school was on lockdown was as a preventative measure. There was no one physically there. They were just preventing, making sure that everything was all clear before anything happened. And it was an incident that was nowhere near, it was 15 miles away.
Exactly.
So.
No, I mean, the one thing that struck me today that I heard, for example, was the marches that were planned on Google. The reason they got shut down is, the rumors started spreading that there were unconfirmed rumors that, I guess, counter protesters were going to be pulling a second in Charlottesville with kind of using vehicles as a way to break up the crowd. Not confirmed at all. No substance. To my knowledge, I have yet to see anything that was confirmed. But people jumped on the story, and people were like, seriously outraged that, you know, free speech being shut down, and, you know, there's a counter, you know, there's a legitimate threat. And like, no, it's not legitimate until it's confirmed. We have no way of knowing that that the threat was even made. But it really did become a big story very quickly. And for me, I'm just becoming more and more aware of that we're all living in these. We accuse, you know, the other side of living in echo chambers, but we kind of end up in our own echo chambers, and there's so much confirmation bias that I'm really concerned. For me personally, like, I'm desperately trying to, if I read something or I hear something, to try and look at the other side to see, is like, am I even remotely close to what is happening? Because my biggest fear is that I'm going to end up falling for a story that turns out to be a complete hoax.
And 9 times out of 10, it's like you can't immediately form an opinion, which is why I said earlier, it's like people are bitching, Trump should have said something immediately. And I'm like, yeah, but how much information was available? And personally, I think he did the responsible thing, waiting a little bit until they got more information, because if you immediately jump in on whatever, it's like, okay, wait, because our media has a tendency, I mean, at least find out, is this actually a nationalist thing first? Is it actually Nazis first before you jump into it, kind of a deal? Because the media covers what it covers. I think, if I remember correctly, originally it wasn't started as that it was usurped. Originally it was just about the statue, and then it turned into this giant stupid shit with people showing up in uniforms. And I think that's the second time that they've done this, but the last rally didn't turn, canceled it, or it didn't turn as violent, but I wasn't paying attention that weekend because we were doing something. But where it'll start, like they did with the Tea Parties. When the Tea Parties first started, it was just simply about taxation, and then it eventually got sucked over by more radical-ish, radical side groups, and that's what happens with a lot of stuff. Like even Occupy Wall Street, I think initially when that started, a lot of people are like, "Hey, this is stupid," and then again, it's always those far extremists, and that's what the media covers, because that's what's the interesting story. We're gonna focus on these two.
Otherwise, it's just kind of it's not gonna keep anybody's attention for very long.
Yeah, we're gonna focus on the 2 or 3 idiots, just like they always find that the dumbass wading through 6 feet of water after a hurricane. They don't want to go interview the people that evacuated. It's always, they always pick the lowest hanging fruit to make the story.
I think it's more than that. Like Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message. You have people that really believe that they can, facilitate change, quote unquote. You had change management at the top of corporate governance, and basically getting into like New World Order kind of stuff. And I guess I would ask you guys, like, so, are we headed towards a Western dominated, or this new hybrid with China? There's been like some of what I call the hippie intelligentsia writing about fusion with the Chinese system, the Communist Party. And again, with North and South Korea, what I see is a big, Western imperialist ploy, because both communism and hyper market capitalism are Western ideas. And so if I was a conservative Russian or a conservative, Chinese or Korean, I would say, well, this is all Western white devil BS.
Well, to kind of give some answer to that, and I don't know if it's exactly, if it's relevant to that or not, but one thing that I saw today that I thought was really interesting, somebody brought up a point on Twitter that I kind of had to do a double take, and I was like, yeah, that is a good point. They were pointing out that while all this stuff is going on, we're arguing about Charlottesville, we're arguing about the Google memo still a week after it happened. There was actually research that was just published by the Chinese, basically saying that they're making incredible strides with neuroscience and identifying the genes that's responsible for IQ, and starting to work on manipulating those genes in order to collectively improve people's IQs. And they're like, well, here we are in the Western world, we're arguing about the science behind the Google memo, and the Chinese is testing genes responsible for coding IQ. That does kind of make you go, well, are we focusing on the right stuff? Are we,
No, we're not. We're not. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, I think this is a distraction tactic. I really think it's a distraction tactic to dumb down the public, to distract the public, to keep us divided. That's what I was getting at earlier.
Of course. I mean, if you look at textbooks from the early 20th century and you look at the ones now, you can see a night and day difference, a clear night and day difference.
Oh, I know. They're in the barn because one of our neighbors, like he's like 75, who owns the barn, was a 5th grade teacher. And if you pull his original books that he was teaching when he was teaching 5th grade back in like the 50s or 60s, it's like wow, we don't cover this anymore. I actually grabbed a couple of them.
Charlotte Isabert. She was the director of the Department of Education in the 80s. I think around the time of Reagan and Carter. She taught her whole like life's work was stepping down from the Department of Education exactly on this subject.
Interesting.
John Taylor Gatto, New York State Teacher of the Year, New York City Teacher of the Year, stepped down, wrote books about it.
My kid is in 8th grade, and what they covered in English yesterday was the correct use of a or and in a sentence.
Oh, boy.
I actually, this is a topic that I argue with my kids a lot because I'm like, what do they teach you in school nowadays? Because
An A or and type thing, like 3rd grade?
It is.
I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is, when she gets home, we get her Tinker Crate. When she gets home, I made her. Okay, her punishment the other day was write 9,001 times "I am sorry" in 20 lines or less. I taught her how to code in Java. It was awesome. Yeah. So.
Wow. Good job. Good mom.
She cried a lot. It was really. She's really upset. And like, okay, here. That's what I gave her as a punishment the other day. Was learn to code. Here, read these tutorials.
That is kick ass. I have to. I commend you for that. That's pretty cool.
I think that comes back to the eugenics argument in terms of Common Core and compulsory schooling and whatnot. It's, basically you have this idea that people can't help themselves, and there's a genetic standard, and where I find the conversation hard to have sometimes is people don't want to make statements about biology and intelligence and whatnot and differences between people and whether or not some people are going to be smarter or whatever. And then they want to turn around and impose, compulsory schooling based exactly on that fact.
Exactly. I mean, I get it. It's definitely, it's no exact science. There's still so much that is open to discussion, open and up for debate. And I don't think it is fair to say that, we could argue that one set of people is necessarily more intelligent than a different group of people, but the way they're going about just shutting down any conversation about the science, that's where it becomes really hard for me. It's like, if we want to discuss how we can make improvements to the education system, how we can make improvements about getting, more people to participate in a certain field or whatever the case may be, then we don't do that by shutting the conversation down.
So just to be fair, I don't want to derail, this show for one thing. So I do write Python, and I have worked on like side channel stuff, more, ambient backscatter and different things like this. I worked for an advertising company where we would, exploit different stuff given whatever patches and whatnot. So, but to me, isn't the operational side of it kind of a big deal? So if you're talking about, basically calling to get a free pizza to the point where you're breaking down somebody's mind by completely, destroying reason in their mind, isn't that, then you don't need to hack anything, right?
Exactly.
No, because you're now broke. And that's what the whole overload, the whole that was it, Clowen-Piven theory, or whatever the hell it is, where if you overload the masses, then it's easier to short circuit basically the population and just inject whatever thought you want. And actually it's kind of interesting. It's sort of in the James book. This is what I've been reading when you guys have been talking, because I've been just kind of reviewing a few things. And one of the things is the post-incident management system. And there's an interesting outline in here that I was just kind of reviewing, where it discusses the psychological reconstruction. And even if this wasn't a CBRN incident, it's still a similar type mindset because people are agitated. Where was it? Because I just thought it was interesting when they were discussing the coming down, like during the post-incident recovery, and where was it? Basically what it said is there's a point directly after the incident where everyone comes together, and then you could start kind of injecting new thoughts, which was interesting, before things start to normalize again.
Kind of like a rebuilding thing to some extent too. It's like people kind of, it's a debriefing to some extent, and then rebuilding and at that point you get to inject some new thoughts into whatever the narrative was while the incident took place.
Yeah. Okay, so delusionment. I think where are we at? So the recovery phases for post-event is initial impact is shock, disbelief tend to be the first reactions to a catastrophic event. So
it's
people
kind of
will
the 5
feel
stages of
dislocation.
grief. It's similar to that. People go into disbelief and denial.
So you have your dislocation, social order is severely disrupted. Heroic period, which is response personnel exercising their duty on scene. The honeymoon period, for a brief moment, past hurts and conflicts are forgotten and entire communities come together to face a crisis. Radical change is possible during this time as the disaster provides the impetus for the community to adapt. If it's being orchestrated, they need to orchestrate something very large to reconstruct, which is where I'm nervous, is because if they are orchestrating for civil war, it has to be bad in order for it to be that deep for the entire country to be reconstructed, like in whatever.
Yes, but
Anyway.
they've got compartmentalization and, you know, these very asymmetric type operations to where, so if you were at Boston or if you were at Charlottesville, you know, that's very real for you there, but it's, you know, at the same time, you need the apathy for the rest of the population.
Well, as I said, it would have to be big, and that's where I get nervous. Well, just the current climate is very nervous thing.
Well, that's exactly it. The current, I mean, everybody's is upset and angry, and there's just, it's so hard to kind of just have get a good real gauge on where people are at, because there's so much heightened emotion. Everybody is emotionally invested in this,
and the internet makes it worse, is because as much as you say it's compartmentalized, it's not as compartmentalized as it could be, because everyone's on Facebook, everyone's on Twitter, everyone's online.
Exactly. Don't step offline for a second to decompress.
Sure, but I think that's leaning to a softer effect, to a numbing effect. So Huxley gave a speech to the Tavistock Institute. Have you heard of Tavistock? Tavistock was formed to study shell shock in World War I. So exactly what you're talking about there.
Yeah, now it's coming back.
So what I'm saying is they've got this down to more of a science than you might think, in terms of being able, you know, just like a dirty hydrogen bomb versus a clean hydrogen bomb. and you know, so Huxley said to Tavistock, I see, you know, a dictatorship without tears. And that's where and I would say that so sure, you've got terrorism and whatnot, but he said terrorism is a blunt instrument. He basically said terrorism is a blunt instrument in this speech to Tavistock at Stanford. And, you know, I would say like pot legalization is the flip side of that. If you got everybody smoking pot, you know, oh, well, I guess we don't need to riot anymore. Rioting was stupid.
Yeah,
maybe we need to just, you know, light California on fires, because it'll blow east.
Or let them just do Cal exit and just be like, if you want to go.
It's just deep breaths. You know, so if Los Angeles ever lit up, it would just be this cloud. Assuming it gets over the Rockies, it'd probably just sit. All the pot and you can laugh.
Colorado, New Mexico,
you know,
Oregon.
It'll just kind of drift east and it's mellow the whole country, assuming in this area.
Well, I mean, I'm saying I think they're opposite sides, but I think Huxley wrote like the long game view on it, where he's like, I think long term it's going to be difficult to maintain all these, you know, like to keep blowing stuff up and run these operations on people and blah blah blah, compared to breeding that kind of, you know, rebellion out of people. So I think maybe we're in a phase where we're breeding that out. Yes. But the long game is not, you know, necessarily this horrific thing, you know.
And that could be it too. That tends to be my preferred, even my preferred dog and animal training method is immersion. Is whatever it is that's scaring you, I'm going to gently immerse you in it to the point that you're desensitized to it. And that could be part of it too. Is if they push hard enough, long enough, eventually it'll just whatever. Fuck, I don't care anymore.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that you start to, you know, there's a less heightened response every time anything happens like this. If you eventually your senses don't respond the same way. If we keep having the same amount of outrage over every single incident, eventually people don't respond with the same amount of outrage over the first incident anymore. It's starting to, you know, it will continue to escalate down. But my concern is just like every single thing that gets escalated, because it does become, people are not even sure exactly what they're upset about anymore. They just like rage about everything as a whole.
Well, even for me at this point, I've gotten past where I'm just angry about it, and I've gotten to that point where I'm just exhausted by it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at. I think people are emotionally, intellectually exhausted by the arguments, because you don't know what the real issue is anymore. There's so many things that's being thrown at you, and so many different views, and you're like, I'm overwhelmed by all of this. I really just want to go and stick my head in my pillow and scream for 5 minutes, because I can't deal with this anymore. But I know I have to, because this does impact me. It does impact my family. It impacts everything around me. But I'm not sure what we're fighting about anymore, because there's too many things.
Yeah, that's the whole that I was saying about the Cloward and Piven thing, which the point of that is to basically overload.
And I mean, that's the part where I legitimately blame the media. I don't think that all media is bad, and I think that there are still very reputable journalists out there who is trying to cover the truth and get the truth out there. But as a whole, I think what the media is doing is escalating everything into a catastrophe, and everything is national breaking news. You have to turn CNN on every 5 seconds. It's breaking news, breaking news. You can't have that. I mean, people get overloaded. At some point, people are going to start to just tune out.
Oh God, they're all hard. I was at a friend's house, and they had Fox on, and Fox must have had 7 breaking news and reports in like 3 minutes, and I'm like, Are you kidding me? I'm like, okay, you get bam, 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 and I'm like, stop, because I can't.
I had the TV on earlier, and it was like Trump was coming out of the apartment, and he was still inside of Trump Tower, and he's on the way to the golf course. So literally, they were like, breaking news: Trump is exiting Trump Tower. I'm like, how is that breaking news?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay. He was coming, people. We knew he was on his way to the golf course. How is that breaking news if something happens that we were expecting for the past half hour? For God's sake, settle down.
Because the word Trump is in it, it's breaking.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. It's the stupidest thing.
I've apparently the ratings that a lot of news outlets are getting these days, constantly reporting on Trump, is similar to the ratings they get during election season, which is typically inflated. So they have the incentive to keep the Trump obsession up, because it is a very substantial average increase in their earnings compared to non-election season.
Yeah,
and they're going to be very sad when Trump's gone.
Oh yeah,
they'll be the saddest people.
Everybody's revenue will drop. Like, it's ridiculous. Their advertising revenue and their, everything is so dependent on this. But it's just pathetic to me. It's like, for God's sake, if you were saying Trump was just in a helicopter crash, I could see it. But he just walked out of the elevator. That's breaking news.
I hate to say this, but it has occurred to me that maybe what's going on here is like, how could she let her email so early? All this stuff is so crazy. They're just fucking it up so bad. You realize, like, all they have to do is keep fucking it up. Because then everyone else that's sensible will be like, oh, I'll just clean that. We need to clean this up. We need to fix this. And it's like, nope, I can just fuck up left and right. And then, then you got your ratings and you got your reasoning for all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to explain earlier. It's like, how do we know that a portion of this isn't staged just for ratings? Because they're reporting what they want to report. And it's not just this. It's not just this. It's like it's Trump. It's the server. It's who screwed up this time. Are the stories even real? How do you distinguish what is actual news and what is just shit that someone ran with because they saw someone posted some shit on Twitter? How many stories that show up nowadays are someone's joke blog post because they don't spend 30 seconds researching if it's an actual story?
Okay, let me just stop us here for a second. Let's take a break so we can hear from our sponsors, and then we'll return this captain conversation. Adrian, would you like to say anything?
Nope. Sorry, don't have anything to say.
Welcome back to the Iron Channel News. Our currently debating news and more, so stay tuned and listen in.
Well, this is better than watching CNN.
I so agree. I needed this little outlet for a few minutes, just being able to vent, because there's not a lot of places where people can vent right now, and I think this is a good way.
Well, I mean, wow, just there I was on the phone, and then you guys switched to news, and I was mad because I was like, I gotta go.
But you were mad because you were on the phone and you said you got to go and listen to in, or you had to say you got to go from here?
I wanted to go from the call, but you know, you have to be nice.
Well, I spent this entire time listening to him. That was better than listening to the news.
No, I've been listening to the news all day, and I mean, there's some interesting things that's coming out, but God, there's just so much. I have to agree. It's I don't even know what is real anymore, what's not real anymore, because when you start to have conversations where anchors are like dedicating 5 minutes arguing over, is the new White House communications director suitable for the job, and what is she up against, and you know, what are we doing about Robert Mueller's investigation in light of Charlottesville? I'm like, oh, just stop, everybody, just stop.
And that's not even anchor shit. That's like commentator shit. It's like being
Exactly.
anchor.
It's just, you know, they're not even commenting on what people around the country are saying. That's just their own kind of speculations. Where we're starting to talk about, like, well, so we have this really young woman who is going to be the new communications director. Is she qualified? Like, why is this an argument at all? Yeah, she's in for a challenge. I don't care if you're 28 or if you're 58. You're in for a hell of a job, because being the communications director of the White House, where Trump pretty much says and does whatever the hell he wants to, is going to be a tough job for anybody. I don't care how old you are or what gender you are.
They're talking about it mainly because it keeps it on the channel longer. It's
Exactly.
better than a
They're
5-second
making it
blurb
story.
saying, "To the new communications director." Done.
They have to,
Yeah.
they have to stretch it out, make it more than what it is.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the part that I resent, is they turn it into, well, you know, it's this young, attractive woman. Like, what does that have to do? Would you have given her any less shit if she was ugly as sin? No, but she happens to be pretty cute. I don't think that's why he picked her. You know.
Wait, scratch that, Marlene. I'm sorry, but Trump says that he picks his staff based upon their attractiveness level.
Well, no. I do agree with that. I'm not.
That's why he picked Pence over Christie.
That is very true. No, I mean, let's face it. He does tend to favor people that are more attractive. I get it, but let's face it. I mean, if he picked a young girl who doesn't have a lot of experience. I mean, she clearly. I don't think she's as naive and stupid as people seem to think she is. I think she'll be fine, but I think she's in for a tough job.
She's probably more media savvy than a lot of the older ones are,
well,
too.
That's exactly it. That's why I don't think he's a bad choice. I think he's picking somebody who's probably a little bit more, well versed with dealing with, some of the media, the alternative media, and the bloggers, and and people like that, because she is slightly younger than some of the more established DC crowd. But yeah, I thought it was just interesting that they would literally take apart every single aspect of this to turn it into a story somehow.
I appreciate the culture of the Marines, but when they're like, well, we have a new Marine as the chief of staff and he's maintaining order, that gave me a little pause. This is a civilian office that then is in charge of the military. It's different from the Marine Corps as an entity.
Absolutely. No, and it's kind of funny you said that, because I've seen that sentiment from a number of people that I follow too on social media that kind of said something, expressed concern along similar lines. It's like, well, it's not exactly the same thing.
It's a civilian office. It's not a military post.
Exactly.
So the fact that he was a Marine is great.
It's what he's doing is in a different context.
And it does look like fascism. If I was left leaning, I might say, well, that looks like fascism. To have a Marine as the chief of staff and whatnot. But also, I would say the Marines represent the tower. I think the reason you have the Marines loyal to the Marines first in their creed and whatnot is because if you had a civil war, who you're going to trust to lock down the immediate area?
Exactly.
You got generals going different directions. So it's kind of like the Navy and the Marines keep that imperial order.
Well, that's I mean, but kind of what you said, that's a little bit of a concern for me when I was thinking about like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, what is the more imminent threat here? Is it like a a civil war, or what's the threat like with North Korea? And I mean, I was saying to somebody last night, my concern is like if things did escalate to the point of a civil war, or we have to declare martial law or something like that. My big concern is that the military, and if we have to call in the National Guard on certain things, we don't want to have the military tied up in any way, any shape, way, or form to, if there is a real threat coming from North Korea, we need them to be on top of that.
Divide and conquer. I want to be split.
I could be totally wrong on that. That was just my theory. It's like the last thing we'd need is to have something that escalated into the point where we'd need to call in the military to control order nationally, and then we face a real threat in the shape of North Korea. Because, I mean, in light of the fact that the military could certainly use additional funding and additional resources and things like that, it's like, is that really, what would the future look like of this if both those situations kind of happened hand in hand, or, at least in parallel? It certainly wouldn't be a good outcome.
You have to ask who would benefit, and it seems like there's like so who's gonna win out on top of it? Because I mean, Europe is kind of collapsing at the same time,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's like we can't even count on them for support because they've got their own shit to deal with.
But so again, I think it is order out of chaos.
Yeah.
But who am I to decide? One theory I've had, this is the most fringe theory you're probably going to hear. So if you were a super evolved, being on this planet, and you just created all these like sort of intelligent beings, and they're all like mobbing in the streets, maybe you would create chaos. I don't know. Because if there's only 10 of you in the tower, and there's 100 of them outside, I mean, maybe that's what we are. Super fringe theory.
I mean, at this point, I don't think any theory is completely crazy anymore because there are so many theories. Who knows what's right and what's wrong anymore? That at this point, when somebody expresses a theory, I'm like, okay, bring it on, because I honestly don't shoot anything down anymore. Who knows what's going to happen? I didn't think that things would escalate in the way that it did, yet it did. So it's like, apparently my gut is not. I can't rely on my gut feeling because it's been wrong.
Well, it's just like. The same thing of why would you co-opt, either sides of a fringe movement, To me, that sort of makes sense. If it was like if I throw a party, I might want people on the inside of either, gangster group that shows up at my table, That's only in my benefit to run both sides. And that's like what the CIA does professionally, right? So.
No, that's exactly it. I think that is the key thing, is like trying to kind of stay friends or at least maintain connections to both sides, because that benefits you ultimately. If you alienate one side, you just don't benefit from pushing one side away and choosing one over the other.
Doesn't mean it's going to end up rosy, No,
that's all. Yeah, I mean, it's still not going to, you might still end up with a really bad outcome, but I think it's still the better outcome over just favoring one over the other.
I mean, I know China is like the darling of the European American globalist order. They want a Chinese model. Maurice Strong is riding around in Beijing talking about how great, the Communist Party is. And I'm not sure that I necessarily disagree with that. I just tend to think that it does seem like why do you keep adding frogs to the pot to boil? Why don't you just fry your frog,
Delicious. Broth.
Delicious.
Well, for me, that I just find interesting is, I don't know if that to some extent we can attribute some of that, the new kind of what seems to be happening with so many people seem to have a much more favorable idea of communism these days. Certainly from when I was a kid, I mean, the idea was everybody had an extremely negative view of communism. And now it seems like there's people that are openly, identifying as communist, or certainly being in favor of some of the communist ideology. And to some extent, I wonder if that is because they see China as a model, and they don't seem to think that it's a bad thing. They look at that and in their minds, they gloss over all the bad stuff with communism, and they look at China as an example of, oh, well, that's the good aspects of it. And so that I kind of wondered about that. Is like, is China responsible for this movement of people that seem to think that communism isn't so bad after all?
But people in China don't buy that.
Well, that's the whole thing. The Chinese don't buy that, but there's
Well, the Chinese don't, but the college kids.
Great.
Yeah, but the college kids do, because it seems, because on paper it's a beautiful thing. On paper.
Right, but then if you look at the typical age of a college student now, born in the 90s, I mean, they missed the whole wins and losses of communism.
Exactly. They don't know what, it's a whole different generation. But I mean, I've just been wondering, because I've been seeing more and more of that, where I can, to some extent, and at least intellectually, I can to some extent see the idea that people might identify aspects of socialism as a decent system for certain reasons, socialized medicine. So, I can understand it. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. What I can't understand is that people would be in favor of communism, because I look at the history of communism, and for me, it's like, where do you see any advantages today to that? Where do you see a society that is thriving under communism? Because the Chinese would tell you they're not thriving under it.
Well, select few are.
Well, select, but the average, Chinese
but when you're
working in a rice paddy is not benefiting from the system.
But when you're in college and when you're at that level, remember, you're also at that age. I mean, you said you probably didn't go through this, but you're at that age where you're invincible, where nothing can touch you, and therefore I'm going to be on top. So in your head, you're going to be whatever the party in charge is. You're not going to be the person working in the fields or in the gulag or any.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I've always think
or the person that says, "Hey, this is bullshit," and then you don't hear from them for a while.
Exactly. You're going to take a nice long vacation somewhere. We're not going to talk about you.
Yeah, they haven't read 1984. They haven't, they don't, and then that was all the stuff I read in like high school and late middle school. Was we read 1984 and we discussed it. We read A Brave New World and we discussed it. We read all the Lord of the Flies and we discussed it. And I don't know if these kids are doing that nowadays. I let my kiddo read. She wanted to read Bradbury, so I gave her Fahrenheit 451, and we discussed it. But they don't. I don't think that's stuff that they're normally getting nowadays.
No. Nowadays they just teach the tests. Go ahead, take the test.
I mean, it really is unfortunate, because I mean, some of those things had such a profound effect on how people thought about things, and just the fact that they're not even encouraged to read it and have a discussion about it or anything. I mean, yeah, I don't even know. It's just like, it feels like it's just an entire generation of people that's just denying things that the older generation knew as, we understand the reasons why it's a bad idea, and they just seem dead set on wanting to pretend that, either it didn't happen or it's not as bad as you think it is. And it's like, no, it's pretty bad.
So I would throw out there that there are, groups that basically they had the class where they tell you, you don't get to read it. You don't get to read the Bible or anything else, all the way into slaveholders and whatnot. And it hasn't been that long. It's only been like 200 years of post-Enlightenment rationalist theories. So when you see like counter-Enlightenment ideas, you almost wonder, like, are they serious? They really want to take away, thought from the common person.
Exactly.
And God, I can't. Oh yeah. So there's this kid that interviewed Noam Chomsky. I saw this recently, and he actually cited the French Revolution on the subject of, is the left violent? And this kid is basically like, well, people are talking about, violence. And of course, Noam Chomsky is like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. That's insane. And the kid's like, no, but, on the left, people are talking about how we might need to, return to violent means, which is exactly what you see with BAM and Antifa and all this.
Absolutely.
And of course, Dinesh D'Souza, and I'm trying to be objective here, but Dinesh D'Souza points out that fascism emerged on the left with Mussolini.
Oh, that's
ironic.
Agree. I follow him too, and I saw, and I completely agree. That is, people don't want to deal with it, but that is the reality. That is the historical context. It did start with that.
So I would just encourage any land holding, self, what do you want to say, self-sufficient American individual to not, don't bring your guns to town. It's a trick. Maybe there is something to America being like the last vestige of a free and educated society, and that really threatens an old world class. I mean, maybe there's something to that. Yeah.
Are you fighting the Koreans or the Nazis? The Chinese? Okay, you're killing Chinese. Wonderful. Is a battle, which battlefield is that? Two? Okay.
Just clarifying. That's good. Good to know.
At the same time, I've had thoughts about, well, what good does it do to educate everybody? Is everybody ever going to live up to it? I tend to believe in that, Republican Democratic idea, that post-revolutionary idea, but I don't know,
I mean, I would like for at least for everybody to have the opportunity to get the education that is being offered, and for people to make the decision too, if people really wish to, become educated and do something with the education that they receive. I would very much like for people to have the opportunity to get it and the opportunity to do something more with their lives. But do I think everybody's going to take it? Probably not. I mean, and I just kind of go like, not everybody has that internal locus of control. Not everybody has the same motivation to do that, because let's face it, in today's society, for the most part, the opportunities are available. If you really do wish to improve your life and you do wish to get out of poverty and things like that, I do think the opportunities are available to you. And yet not everybody is seeking it.
Or, maybe in terms of gun control, let the people that are crazy enough to pull that shit go shoot each other.
Exactly.
Like I said, go get a nice big field and, we'll just stick them on each other with tiki torches. And anyway, Adrian, I have a rough sketch.
Okay.
You're not even looking. Look, here you go.
Pull back a little. Wait. Okay, cool.
All right.
I won't even ask what that is.
I'm a little curious.
We got a buddy, Skydog, Trevor Hearn. He runs Skydog.com, and somehow I think Mary was commissioning like artwork for DerbyCon or something, and I was like, I was gonna have draw me like one of your French girls style from like Titanic, but have Trevor be in it.
That's what it reminded me of. It looked like the one from Titanic, the like side angle. That's what it was.
That's the idea. And instead of that ruby or whatever that crystal was, it'd be like
the heart of the ocean. I put a little Doberman tag on him at the moment, but this is just a rough sketch.
What's the Doberman?
Doberman, because the Skydog Con logo is the Doberman Pinscher.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm planning to go to Skydog Con, so yay.
Although I actually talked to him the other day, and I may have to travel down to Tennessee to get him to actually pose naked for me, because it can be more accurate. He said he'd do it. I'm fine with that. I don't care. It's for commission. So.
In the name of art.
In the name of art, whatever. Dude, I'm an EMT, and I went to art school for like 6 years or something. I don't remember. And yeah, I've seen plenty of naked.
That's the whole thing. Is you become kind of numb to it. I've seen it all, and there's nothing that phases me.
Nope. Yeah, I've seen all kinds.
Is Adrian going to Skydog Con this year?
Yes.
Because we may need your video cameras for this upcoming.
Upcoming what?
I didn't get it.
Oh, by the way, let me show you some of the last artwork I commissioned from Mary. Let's see. Screen share. Come on.
Well, you're going to go draw. So I figured, if you're going to draw them, we could always just, put it on his cameras and make an art film.
We can do all kinds of things. I need to go down to Tennessee soon anyway.
This is the last artwork I commissioned from Mary.
Nice. I like that. Who did that?
Mary did.
Nice.
That's really cool.
I said, give me a mashup of
It was a whole bunch of horrible It's like Goatsy Blue Waffle Lemon Party.
Yeah, Goatsy the Blue Waffle at a lemon party.
They're playing Cards Against Humanity.
What are you
Oh,
drinking,
God,
Mary?
yeah, don't even get me into that game. I
I
love.
was just about to ask that. What are you drinking? It looks so like soothing.
But yeah, I think that was 2 WCons ago. But the artwork creation for hopefully this WCon
Nice.
wait is Trevor Hearn stretched out like one of those French girls.
That's super cool.
Mm-hmm. That looks like it tastes like so smooth right now.
It tastes like root beer.
Okay.
Like it
But still
is
smooth.
it is root beer. There's another one. They have a the Not Your
Yeah, I can
Father's
see
root
it.
beer. Yeah, they have one not your mama's iced tea.
Mm-hmm.
I
Tastes
see that
just
one.
like
I see that.
that one is so good. That would taste just like lemon iced tea. It's my personal. I love lemon iced tea. That's like my favorite. They also have a cream soda, a ginger ale that's really good. They have a whole bunch, but they taste just like soda, but they got a little bit of a kick.
What is it? I'm sorry, I missed it.
The Not Your Father's root beer.
That's
Tastes
right
just like
here.
root beer.
Oh, look at this guy!
Oh yeah!
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the Not Your Mom's iced tea.
I gotta
I
check.
love that stuff. We need to get a sponsorship now. That's what we need. We need to get Oliver, and we need to get the brewery to sponsor the podcast. And,
He's literally about to make me jump through the internet to get some of that.
I would have
Walmart carries it.
You can't drink it because you got a newborn.
I know,
You gotta be
man.
on your toes all the time.
I know. My daughter,
He
she
can
keeps
drink
me on
it.
the
As long
toes.
as the newborn doesn't drink it, he's fine.
He's
How
not
do you get him
pregnant.
to sleep?
Exactly. As long as you don't give it to the baby, you're good.
Exactly. I am free and clear to get it.
You can rub it on the gums. Be okay a little bit.
Look at that. She'd be like,
Well, I'll put it this way. When I was a baby, my mom would take, like my pacifier and dip it into brandy to make me sleep, and I turned out fine.
We would get a little bit of creme de menthe on our gums when we were teething.
Exactly. I mean, I was fine. To this day, I love good brandy, but I'm just saying, I turned out okay.
You know what? You know what's cool though? All those remedies did work.
It
They
did.
worked. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the remedies did work.
You get an earache, garlic and olive oil, like 3 drops in your ear. Yeah, it worked. It worked better. Warm olive oil, and that's worked better than anything else.
Oh, yeah, it's better than all this crap that they give you now.
Yeah, the sore throat, the lemon and tea. I mean, 90% are so much
throats, and like if you have a sore tooth or something like that, or toothache, gargling with like salt water and stuff like that. We would do all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, gargling with bourbon helps. Yeah.
Yeah, that would help too.
What sucks is there's so much stuff you can still get over the counter as veterinary, but they won't sell it for people anymore. And so I love shopping at Tractor Supply because I have the purple the basically it's gelatin violet. You can get gelatin violet at CVS, but it's cheaper if you get it as the blue ointment at Tractor Supply.
Oh my goodness.
And if you have like blisters, I walked 10 miles one day and walked myself into a blister, and I put a little bit of that on. Never popped, never blistered. Immediately took everything down. It felt great.
Probably should have ordered that blister though.
But that kind of stuff it's
I mean, it's a real thing. It's like I've done some courses on survival medicine, and like one of the things you can do is for people that want to do like a doomsday prepping kit or something like that, or I shouldn't say doomsday prepping, but if you want to like have a survival medicine kit or something like that, you can buy like antibiotics that's used for fish. And you can keep that as a good, general, broad spectrum antibiotic, and it's
the fish amoxicillin. You get it, and it's exactly the same tablet. They can't tell you it is legally, but it is.
But it is the same thing. No, that's the whole thing. It's
the 500 and the 1,000 milligrams. Yeah.
We did that before.
Yeah, and I have dosage for cross species dosage for everything, because there's a lot of stuff that you're not supposed to give the dogs. That's exactly the same stuff that we give to the goats and the sheep and the cows.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
no, I have a really good friend who's a vet, and we always talk about like there's some things that is labeled as off-label for veterinary use, but and just vice versa. It's like stuff that you can totally still use it for human purposes, but in a different dosage, and it's perfectly fine. You can buy it without prescription, so it's really easy if you have to like come up with some kind of a kit for people that do not necessarily want to go to the doctor and get a prescription for a bunch of stuff.
We were told in a large spectrum multi-injury like attack or something, if you need like epinephrine for like large scale, go to the vet's office because they'll have epinephrine for like cattle, and it'll be like if there is some sort of ginormous emergency and you need to get it, that's who they said, you know, contact them, learn who your sources are in the area, you know, because if something happens, you're going to want to know where you can get something to treat 100 people at a time in an emergency.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially one said practices, it's kind of like in areas where you know that they would see larger animals, not necessarily small animal practices, and, you know, just kind of identifying people that you know that do treat larger animals as well.
But we're all cattle, because our area in particular is known for our beef cattle. So
yeah, at my vet's office, he's like on the outskirt of town, so they do some larger animals too. It's not just like really small. It's not just household and exotic animals. They've had a pig in there the other day, stuff like that. So it does definitely go larger. But you have to kind of, you know, it's not your inner city vets that just do, you know, cats and dogs and lizards.
Well, even then, before Austin passed away, he had a stage 6 like heart murmur, and they had put him on basically the water pills. And if you look, it's all the medications are the same.
Oh, it is absolutely.
If you look them up. Like even Medicam. I have a ton of tramadol here because we had a dog that was, you know.
I always keep a bunch of tramadol too. It's like, because, you know,
good because in an emergency. Yeah, in an emergency, if I mean, I like, not for me necessarily, but we've had dogs like trip and like throw a knee out or some shit, and you want to give them crate rest for a couple of days, and it's good to have just the, you know, quick painkiller to take the edge off. But
it's kind of like, you know, I keep prednisone and tramadol, all sorts of stuff just around regularly, because I feel like, you know, you can always use a little bit of some kind of either a steroid or a painkiller or something.
Yeah.
I have like a whole cabinet set up with stuff, and, you know, I'll stock up on, because obviously it's, you know, I have to kind of justify it sometimes, but I have just like different syringes and different needles and stuff like that, because it just comes in handy to have it.
Yeah. And for us particularly, I guess I have multi-species on the farm, so I've saved a chicken before. We had a chicken attacked by a raccoon or something, ripped her entire throat out. I actually managed to stitch her back together and get her up where she was okay. But that was because, you know, we went ahead and we did, you know, made sure she had a shot of penicillin, or she had the LA, or whatever, you know, we needed to do to, you know, keep them from getting sick. So
that's amazing.
It's almost 10:30 now, guys. I'm going to have to jump off here, but it was so good to catch up with all of you guys.
Cool. Hope that John.
This is the best side distraction of the evening. I feel better now. I can go and actually get back to regular life without just being mad at everything. Because earlier I was like, I am just pissed at the world.
Unfortunately, you have to do this every week so you can feel normal again.
If you guys will have me every week, I could be here every week, because I really like this conversation. I mean, this is just a good group. If Adrian will have me every week, I will be here.
Yeah, I'll drop you the link. I'll drop you the link next week also, and I usually put the link in the previous chat if it still exists inside of Google Groups.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, then I can look right there. Yeah, then I'll be back.
Yeah, definitely, because we have fun every week. I look forward to Wednesdays because of this. So
it is. It's super fun. I love it. But Mary, you've got to be back on too next week. This is fun.
Charles, I like to think probably it's the conversation that you have here which draws you back, but I like to think it's me.
Aw, you know what?
I come for Charles.
You know. Oh, I feel so. I'm like literally blushing.
Oh.
I was drawn into the quality of Adrian's cast, you know, to the stuff he was recording. And then when I saw this in the conversation, you know, he made some comments about people lurking. I was like, well, all right.
Well, yeah, I think we do enjoy people.
I think a few people are expecting more security stuff, and now a lot of it just BSing around and talking about whatever drama is going on the internet at the moment.
But we do touch on that security stuff every once.
We do big time. Just that this week was just like, you know, with so much happening, we just had to talk about it. and everybody had to, you know, air out, get it off their chest. And now everybody feels better.
Exactly.
And we can
Deep
get
breath,
back to some.
sing Kumbaya
Yeah,
together. We're all good.
exactly. Then we can come back and just talk, just security talk, just oozing out of our veins.
Until I walk over to my work laptop and that email pours in where it's a dumb question, and then I just lose it again.
Well,
I love
I'm
it.
gonna lose all my shit when I get back on Twitter and I see some of the stuff on there. And I'm like, God damn it! I'm right back to where I started.
And I love it because Jack should have something called Jack Chronicle Hour. I'm sorry, because the stories he tells about work, oh my God.
Well,
I do enjoy those.
Well, I do have a blog, but unfortunately, y'all can't see shit.
Why is that,
Give me
Jack?
time.
You should do this on Wednesdays. Jack should get like either Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Exactly.
You should do
The Jack
public-
Hour.
We set a network up. That's what we should do. We should have like our own YouTube channel.
Oh, dumb question. I mean, with our luck, we'll just get thrown off of this too. It's like it seems like every channel is just like trying to boot people that they don't like. I'm so mad at Facebook and everybody today.
I have a lot of people use my videos on my website and so forth. So last time, 2 times that who did that, they got like earful. And you know why I got banned over? Because someone had as the title of their talk stopping pharma spam. It was like buy Viagra.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
I remember that. That's wow.
And it happened twice because they unbanned me, then they banned me again. So they were obviously just running a script every other Friday.
I remember when they banned you. So
yeah, you know, I look at, you know what it is, and I think of hackers like crocodiles. And what I mean by crocodiles is this: when people move into the Everglades, don't get mad at the crocodile if he eats you or anybody in your family, because they were there first. And you're invading their home. And I look at hackers the same way. We were here first, meaning all this stuff was being built while everybody else was galloping off doing something else. And now they want to come in and be a part of the tech community, but don't want to follow the rules that were set in place.
I thought you were calling me a scary old white dude or something, but
are you kidding me?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Hacks for snacks. Hacks for snacks.
Hacks for snacks. Yes. We were here first.
That's what it boils down to.
Think about it. Hackers, and I live by the Stephen Levy code, okay? We are the heroes of the internet revolution. And even though that book was written in like 84, but it still holds true today. We are the heroes. Look at Irongeek. He's the reason why we all can see different conferences all over the world, all over the globe. Wherever he travels, we get to see it too. So Irongeek is like our golden ticket.
That is true.
He's a human golden ticket. Like cons I've never even heard of. I go to his site, I'm like, oh crap, that was a great talk. I would have never saw it if he hadn't recorded it.
I mean, and he's now introducing me to this, because I was not an InfoSec to begin with. I was a developer, and now I'm beginning to like learn more about it, and I really like it, and I'm really becoming interested and intrigued by it. And it's like, if it wasn't for people that's putting this stuff out there, I would not have been able to see that. Exactly.
The Dave Kennedys of the word. Dave Kennedy. Oh, I love Dave, man.
I only like it when Dave wears half his clothes on TV.
It's hilarious. Like Dave, I love Dave, man. Hugs, and more hugs, okay? and then Malware Unicorn. You want to learn anything about reverse engineering? She's putting classes out.
I need to check that out.
I need to check that out as well.
Yeah, Malware 101. It's like reverse engineering 101.
Ooh, that sounds
like RE 101.
Yeah. It's unsecured.
Okay,
Yeah,
later, guys. I'm out.
Okay.
Thank you. See ya. Oh, that's it. Later. See y'all next Wednesday.
Hey, while I have Sketchpad out, anyone have any requests, or everyone's going to leave? Oh, everyone's leaving.
Hey, I haven't left yet.
I haven't left.
You have YouTube requests for doodles?
I wish I had known before I gotten this picture done.
I don't do.
I'll think about it.
I do animals better than people. All right, so we're about
So, Jack, you have a blog?
Yes, and unfortunately, all the entries are private because, yeah.
Wait, what's the
But
point
why?
of?
Why?
Well, there's certain people who can read them, but you know, as far as outsiders, I don't let nobody read that shit.
I'm not an outsider. I know the real you.
No, you don't quite know the real me. You know enough about the real me, but you don't know the real me.
Well, how am I supposed to get to know you as the person?
I'm very closed
if
off.
You, don't
you just meet what I put out there.
Wait till I show up on your doorstep. Yeah.
That seems frightening.
Yeah, I live in a Crip neighborhood. Good luck with that.
I'm totally white. I'll blend in.
No, you won't.
I'll be okay. I will bring presents of meat.
Oh, you're bringing food? Well,
I'll bring food. Like I would like to offer here.
Booze and barbecue.
I will offer you foods. There you go.
I bring the offer of booze.
I offer you here food and 40s. Food and 40s? Food and 40s.
Oh man. I'm hurting.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Mary's definitely on my zombie apocalypse survival team. I'm gonna
Hey, you want to see some beautiful fat cock?
Yeah, show me big fat cock.
Let me show some big fat cock. Beautiful fat cocks. Here you go. Hold on a second. Let me get them. There they are. There, aren't they beautiful? Look at them.
You've come full circle.
Yep.
Again.
That looks like some tasty cock.
Yeah, that's some good ones.
How you gonna cook them?
Some of those have been eaten already. I think those are the ones from you ate one of those.
Oh, okay.
You've already nommed on them.
I know that for a fact that it's some tasty cock.
Yes.
I love that cock. That cock tasted great.
Put it right in his mouth.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'd really never show up, Jack. Unless I bring booze. Roll up with 5 or 6 kegs.
Yeah, here, have food. People are very forgiving if you bring punch and pie.
Punchy pie. Pie punch.
I need to get into some new projects. I need to do something in my life. I'm slowly decaying. I need to figure out something to make me happy.
Oh, come for food.
Yeah, like
Here,
right now
look,
I have
I do
a
things
ton
too.
of books that I need to read, and they're just collecting dust.
Oh, same. I got a lot of books. I got sent stuff for free sometimes for review, and I'm like, okay, I don't really know yet.
Yeah, I just bought a crap ton of just computer-related stuff. It's about $1,000 worth, and I need to sit down and actually start going through it.
I'm trying to get back into my Sec Plus class because I didn't realize they were offering it until the last day to register, and then I went and tried to register. But I didn't have the prereqs, and so I emailed my professor after I already had like 2 beers, which was a mistake, and I don't know if they're gonna let me register now.
What? Security Plus? That's a cakewalk. You should.
I know it's like 1 credit hour. It's like nothing. I just wanted to do the test, the course for the test, because I do better if I have the class. At least understand how the questions are being asked.
Well, I can only speak about the old style, but I mean it's basically ABCD.
Well, yeah. the way that a lot of the CompTIA stuff is you take the course to understand how they word the question so you can decode what they want for an answer.
Shouldn't everything be in the format of how it actually happens in real life?
No, that makes sense.
I mean,
Like
every certification should be based on real life, because that's what you're using it for.
Yeah, I know, but no, just like the Cisco stuff is apparently really, really difficult because they'll give you like 3 good answers and 1 wrong one. And that's why people screw up, because it'll be like these are both plausible answers, but but they consider one better than the other, and you got to learn which one they consider better than the other.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because depending on how you're approaching the problem, both are completely valid. So, which is why I need to hurry up and take my CCNT. I need to just go run through the labs one more time, just go get it out of the way. Because I took the first 2 classes already. And I did, I got like a 96 in the LPIC class over the summer. I took a run through of that. So I should really just go take my LPIC. But I just need to get these stupid things out of the way.
And we're still live.
Of course we're still live. We just like to kind of draw it out as long as possible because it's fun.
Yeah, we had streams before going 8 hours because I passed out on stream.
No, usually when I'm here, after the majority of everyone leaves, you cut off live and just keep the hangouts open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
I'll probably go upstairs and play Minecraft for half an hour and go to bed, so I'll probably head out in a second.
But yeah, y'all know, really. No, I think most of y'all been sent show notes, links, and go out there, you request edit permission if you don't already have it, and I can add you on, and you can come up with new ideas for whatever we're going to talk about next week.
It'll be after the eclipse. We can do eclipse review. Did the world burn down? Is that the reason that the country is so screwed up right now? Because we're having an impending solar eclipse and it is screwing with everyone's energy. What's the metaphysical aspect of why this all is screwed up? Is that why there's riots? Is it astrological?
Obviously. I mean, if you're staring at the eclipse and it blinks at you, you know you're about to get eaten.
Oh, was that mom able to change the eclipse date in order to work around her child's school schedule?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, for example, the place where I was just at this weekend, Hopkins County, they're letting kids out for it. So,
my kids, they sent a permission slip that basically said, we're doing this as part of science class. They were donated however many pairs of glasses they needed by one of the eye doctors in the area. And the basically was, is it okay for her to go outside and look at the sun for 2 minutes? Like, okay, go have fun. Because when I was her age, we had an eclipse during my middle school too. And we didn't have glasses. They just let us out in the playground, told us please don't look at it, which that totally works with middle schoolers.
Oh, I think I remember that eclipse, and yeah, we were inside, and it just got dark, and it was like, oh, by the way, there's an eclipse today. So back to the times tables.
Yeah. Well, it peaked during my lunch period, and I remember going out, and a bunch of my idiot classmates were looking directly at it, and I'm going, no, don't look at it. And I had a round compact mirror in my purse, along with all my other gadgets, with like my microscope and all my other nerdy shit, and my other anyway. So always. So anyway, I take out my compact and go watch this, and I take the compact and hit the sun, and I bounce it across the playground onto the side of the school, and I go, you can watch it from here. And so we stood outside and we watched it bouncing off my compact on the side of the school, so everyone could look at it. And I'm like, yeah, because that works. But yeah, that's how I rolled. So.
Just remember, a word of caution: werewolves are not only impossible to kill during an eclipse; they become super werewolves.
Oh, that's a good point. Let's watch out for the coyotes and the coy dogs too.
Animals may behave strangely. If your dog speaks like a man, heed its dire warnings. But if Don't trust a squirrel with a child's face that only speaks lies.
I wouldn't trust a squirrel anyway. They're schizo.
The people of Tennessee may have the best view, but will also be the first ones to be sacrificed.
That is true.
And that's where I'll be.
When your double arrives, resist the inclination to fight it. It may be stronger than you. Chances are it will disappear after the eclipse. Be careful it doesn't switch places. It'll be a few decades before you get a chance to come back.
Yeah, that would suck. The one thing about Tennessee, are you a virgin? Because if you're not, you should be okay because they're going to go for virgin sacrifices first.
No, I'm not a virgin. I'm Jack. Come on now.
If you're not, as long as you're not a virgin, you should be good.
What if it's been so long, like you feel like it's grown back or something? What if it's like been so long that you feel like it's grown back or something?
You need to take care of that, Adrian.
That's going to be a topic for our next time.
I'm going to try to block any imagery that might conjure up out of my... I'm going to draw a picture of a flower now. I can't find my pen.
How is Adrian Goat? How is he doing?
He's over at Lori's having sex with a first timer.
Woohoo! Whatever you do, don't buy any weird plants. We don't want a repeat of last time.
Wait, what?
So don't buy any weird plants. We don't want a repeat of last time. Apophis, the moon serpent, may try to eat you. Let him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I remember these references.
I lost that one. Is that South American? Is it like Aztec or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not.
Lots of LSD type things.
So hackers on Fallen Free. What's the plan as far as what's the meal plan?
I think we're just doing breakfast and dinner, and then we're going to do free for alls for lunch. I think Mark might want to do a pig again, but I was thinking. You mentioned you want to try horse. You know we have an elk farm in the area.
What's the cost and when is it again?
What were we charging last year? It was like 125, 150 a person for the whole weekend.
But it's a lot of food.
It is. Well, we're going to try to figure it out because we were also trying to include events. I think, but it is a lot of food. It was the pig cost me probably 70 something plus I had to butcher it, and then plus gas.
For shooting, I think we need to find a flatter range, something that's easier to set up on.
I think we discussed that. I was gonna, which may adjust the price too. Is I'm gonna have to talk to local gun club because we actually have a rifle and gun club about 2 miles from here. But yeah, we do 1, 2, 3 dinners and probably 4 it'll probably be 3 dinners, 3 breakfasts. We do shooting. We try to do some other event, either visiting a winery or brewery if possible on like Sunday. And then there's actually what I was considering this year was taking you all horseback riding. I was thinking, I was
I'm a rather large, fluffy man.
So we'll get a cart. So I was considering that we don't have to. There's other options. And doing like a geocaching, but I don't know if that's gonna work or not. But actually camping, I'm thinking next year I'm gonna want to do more campfire cooking in the Dutch oven because I definitely want to. I'm testing that out on Monday, and I've done a couple Dutch oven recipes on open campfire, and they're oh my god, they're so good. I did lamb.
We normally cook with just Dutch ovens.
I love my iron. I love it. We did a pit roast pig barbecue this year. Usually it's a lot of grilling, but I'm thinking we may try a few different things. I love open fire because I just think that flavor that you get out of the meat with a slow open fire, cooking. So.
Where do you live?
I'm in southern Indiana.
Which
so I
part?
live between. You know where Bloomington is?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about.
I used to live in Corden for like 14 years. So.
We're north butt drugs.
Butt drugs.
Butt drugs. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we I'm north of Corden, probably Adrian. What, about an hour from Corden?
I think I know from me and New Albany to you it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah, about an hour then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean,
about-
it's mostly back roads though.
Well, it's not.
It's all butt fuck Indiana for the most part.
But
Yeah,
it's beautiful butt fuck Indiana.
But it's all the same to me. I'm sorry.
If I ever get a job in Louisville, I'm gonna be living in butt drug area.
Butt drug.
I lived 4 blocks from no.
Oh, Adrian, what the hell is up with the I-65 Louisville Bridge where they apparently just take a picture of your license plate and then bill you later? We got in that discussion.
4 blocks from
Yeah, that's the toll bridge.
Yeah, what the hell is
wanna
that? Because there's no toll.
You want to take the.
Well, no, I always go the other way, so I didn't know about this. But one of our neighbors was bitching because they got a bill in the mail for crossing it twice by accident because he missed the exit and went back over. And so they fined him. Yeah, so they fined him some ridiculous amount because he crossed it twice in like 3 minutes or something, and he was pissed. And I don't blame him because he's like, yeah, they quadruple told him because he crossed the bridge too many times in a short amount of time. I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, there's no toll booth because I was trying to figure that shit out too. I'm like, yeah, but there's no toll booth.
No, they stamp a picture of your plate and then they bill you later. What I do is if I have to cross over into Clarksville or Jeffersonville, I'll take the 2nd Street Bridge, or I take the Sherman Minton and then weasel my way back around.
Yeah, because that's usually what we do too. When we're cutting down like Derby, or we got to go in for anything. I didn't even know about the whole toll thing, but they tried to make it so impossible to do it because they got the traffic and construction is so bad on all the other bridges. So you got to hit it just right at time. It sucks even worse when we're with someone with like a horse trailer because we were taking. I was riding down with a friend at a Kentucky State Fair and they were hauling like 20 goats, and it was just like, oh crap. So.
What's up?
Have you seen Shalini post?
What's Shalini post now? Oh, we can talk about Shalini's post if you guys want to talk about fun.
Oh, what? Okay. What'd she say now?
Do I have to read the whole? I have to read the whole thing. Well, oh my God, how long is this?
I haven't read it all yet.
Is it a thread?
No, just her initial post. She's basically just discussing Trump's response and oppression and. There's a lot here. I'm gonna let it go for now. Wow, it's a lot of stuff. But
I want to discuss what it was, but so look who responded to Jackie's post.
Oh, really?
I was like, wow.
Oh, that means. Oh, yeah. I don't. Yeah, it's a.
Well, it was even funnier because Jackie went off.
Oh, I love Jackie for that.
Well, Fran goes, well, until you've experienced it, from our end, you don't know what it's like. And Jackie went off on like, yeah, the entire community was damaged by that, and we got no apologies whatsoever. And I was about to post. What the hell, like going, hey, Fran, you know what?
We're still live. Okay, then. Yeah.
I sat there and told Fran of my past type shit.
I've nearly told them multiple. You guys, you want to know what drama's like? Try dealing with a completely defunct local volunteer fire department that desperately needs new management.
You had me at ass.
Oh, as a heads up, I've been removed from the fire department. So.
Oh, I know.
Oh, and out of it, I did learn something else, too.
Oh, here we go.
Because apparently they need 5 new people to take over the board.
Oh, so the entire board has...
I don't know what's going on with the board exactly, but that's...
Who posted that? Fran?
Fran, yeah.
Okay, so Fran's pretty much kicked everyone out then?
you want to know what's going on in the fire department, come to the annual meeting, September 16th at station 7 p.m. We need 5 people to sit on the board until you've been through what we've been through. Don't judge, is what she said, and then Jackie went off on it.
I've asked Jackie to be on the board. I don't know. You want to show it? They can't. How they remove you? They remove from the board?
No idea.
Oh, that's interesting.
I meant to put a resignation in, and I never did.
Yeah, whatever. So, the chief's grandson burned our gym down. They refused to post an apology, even though we requested it multiple times.
What was the settlement?
Basically destroyed the entire community because this was a gym built in 1930 that was basically our community center.
I meant, like, how did he burn it down?
Gasoline to the kitchen?
Yeah.
It was gasoline. He broke in the back, poured gasoline on it.
Wait a minute. So what is he, a firebug?
No, he was a junior firefighter on the department who hadn't finished Module A yet, who decided that he suffered from heroism, and this had built up after he had lit multiple hay bale fires. So he just liked being on calls. So after that, it kept escalating. He burned the gym down. He started a whole bunch of arsons in the area. Then he continued with it, and he started throwing rocks in the highway to get to cause car accidents so he could work as an EMT. So he was full of shit. And so all that crap went down, and then the board, instead of addressing it, decided that they were going to just sweep it under the rug. And it's gotten, and I have so much shit. It's just unbelievable. But of course that kills me because I'm there to help my community, and we have all this bullshit going on, and people who won't take responsibility, that are just like in denial. And then he just got a conviction that he's hauled off to jail. 20 years. It was 30 something years with minus 12. It was like 30 plus years for everything, minus 12 that he has to be on an ankle bracelet when he gets out. The kid's he's like 20 years old, something like that. He's like 18, 20. So he's going to be in jail pretty much his entire effective adult life now. You completely threw everything away. Just completely, just even more tragic because he's so narcissistic about it that he thinks it's a joke. So it's just
he's gonna think it's a joke now, but when he goes to real getting fucked in the ass prison, it changes real fucking quick.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's the whole, and it really did tear the community apart. And the fact that everything around it is just so good old boy backwoods that they don't want to admit responsibility or accept it or own up the shit that, and I'm sorry, but it's the act of ignoring it that makes it worse because the community can't heal.
Of course not, because they are up each other's asses and they're all fucking related. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and then what's even further worse is now you have your local fire department that no one trusts because they don't want certain people to show up on scene. So people, instead of calling when they should call, they don't, and that causes a dangerous situation. And then there's just so much that's a problem. But
well, it sounds like that there's an image problem that needs to be corrected. A lot of people need to go, but who are you going to get to replace them?
Well, exactly, but because what really needs to happen is the whole thing needs to be just completely shut down, restructured. No one that's currently in management should be allowed back on, and it needs to be completely reformed from the bottom up. It needs to be a complete restructuring, but that can't happen unless you have a core group that can step up to replace it. And the only other possibility is you'd have to have another neighboring fire department come in and take over the area for the interim. So it creates all these problems because we're volunteer to begin with, and we don't have enough staff to begin with. So it's like, what do you do? And then it puts me in a bad situation because he was effectively kicked off because he causes trouble. Yeah, he was kicked off because he causes trouble, because when shit was going down, he was doing due diligence, and so they kicked him off for causing trouble. And yeah, it's because there's just whatever. And so who does that leave you with? That leaves you with, I'm still technically on, but
I don't feel safe going on runs with certain people because I know that they're dangerous to work with. So yes, yeah.
Well, I suggest you. Well, I hate to say this, but if I was y'all, I would pack my bags and get the fuck up out of there.
Well, we're already I'm at that borderline where if the thing is there's only like 3 people that are even responding right now out of the roster, and I'm only kind of sort of on at the moment, and I'm kind of at that point where I just need to drop my bag off too and be like, okay, done, bye. I'm going to take my gloves and go home. Which sucks because there won't be anyone else they won't have coverage at all. There'll be nothing, and that's what scares me. What scares me is I'm trained and I'm capable, and if an emergency happens, I can handle it. But if I don't know, but on the other side, it's not like it's the end for me completely because I'm on another fire department in the next county over, so I can still run up there. I just wouldn't be able to run in my local district because until this gets whatever that's going to happen, because stupidity.
Well, hopefully somebody adults and makes a deal where some of those bad elements gets trained elsewhere.
I don't think anyone's going to adult until the state or someone higher up comes down and shuts it down, unfortunately.
Yeah, what's up with all these like stand down orders to police? I mean, and right as we were talking about earlier, there is more than one hateful side in this shit. Until though, if you stop telling the police to stand down and actually crack some heads of both sides, I don't think we're going to solve this.
Well, you can't tell the police to crack heads on both sides because then they're kind of surrounded and outnumbered. I mean, the only way you can do that is to boost the force or augment it somehow.
You'd have to bring military in next because you can't. If you have 8 police officers and 1,000 people.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
No. Even if the cops have machine guns and a helicopter, it's 8 officers to 1,000 people. You don't.
Or
turn that helicopter upside down, right close to the ground. It won't really matter how many people you got there.
Well, you can get a couple of fire trucks too, and you turn that pressure up to about 90, 120.
No, because that's bad optics.
You can push crowds back though.
Yeah, but it's bad optics. Remember Bull Connor and fire hoses?
Well, no, you don't need hose. You get a top mounted jet.
But I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying that by that optics.
Oh, everything is stupid. Anyway, everything is stupid. Everything is dumb when you deal with the news. People are so retarded.
You already bought your ticket for Skydog, Adrian?
You want to look at my Skydog picture again? What?
No, I think he's trying to buy a ticket for it.
No, I
got a black badge at Skydog Con, so I get in free every year.
I haven't paid for a con in like 7 years by accident.
The last con I played for was DerbyCon, and that was a couple years ago.
I always just end up going, and even if we just do LobbyCon, because I'm happy doing LobbyCon because Adrian posts the videos, and 9 times out of 10 what ends up happening is we show up and it's like, hey, can I help you carry your stuff? And I'm not going to talks anyway. I'm just socializing because it's more fun that way.
Well, I like socializing, but I also like going to talks too.
I like going to talks too, but I can't hear half the time, so it's better on the video.
And you can pause it.
Yeah, and catch up and take notes. I love videos. Videos are great.
Got about 5 people who say they will not be at a con if I'm doing video.
They're stupid.
I haven't got to go to a single con this year thus far. That's why these next few I'm sort of looking forward to going to. I haven't got to socialize.
Yeah, I got that right now because then I got DerbyCon. I also have to now. There's a conflict I have. Well, B-Sides Nashville, I've recorded every B-Sides Nashville has been.
Didn't they say get out?
What?
Didn't that B-Sides Nashville tell you not to come back or something?
No, that
What?
one Nashville's cool still.
No. She's awesome. I do their
But
schedules.
B-Sides San Francisco is like the day after. But I don't know if I'm gonna go to B-Sides San Francisco because there's more fucknuts out there who wouldn't mind hurting me. Put it that way.
Yeah, it gets that.
Some violent lefties out there, like that motherfucker who's asking me to renounce the alt-right, and I'm like, as I think we understand it, then I look the guy's profile up. Oh, you're the guy who claims someone was alt-right, assaulted you, but it looks like you attacked some woman's husband who happened to be Polynesian or whatever. So not really particularly racially pure there. And the wife actually had the gun and shot the dude. I'm like, hey, what? You want an apology? As far as I know, you might still be a person who's, well, it's self-defense.
Why are we apologizing for a group that we have no connection to? Well, if someone asks you, if someone asks me, it's like you apologize for the alt-right. It's like I'm not going to apologize for a group that I have no connection or ability to apologize for. It would be like me apologizing for a llama. For I'm sorry this llama owner offended you. I've never owned a llama in my life.
Or it's your fault. I got a bad puppy from a puppy mill.
Yeah. How am I? It's like that's nice. I've done nothing but rescue work for the past like 20 years when it comes to dogs and cats. I mean, I have no control over that. You know, that's just that doesn't make any sense. Why would I apologize for something that I have no connection to begin with?
So what is this black ticket you speak of?
That's if you're awesome. They give you this black badge thing at cons. And black badge means that you basically have free access for life.
So what you're saying is I just need to be awesome.
You need to be awesome or win a contest or something because there's different reasons that you get them. Adrian, what'd you get your black badge for?
SkyDogCon, just because I recorded the first 2 ones and helped SkyDog on some other things, and he helped me on some stuff. And he gave me the black badge that said, "Yo, you want to record? Just keep coming down."
I'm drawing a picture of Adrian.
I just need one for DerbyCon.
Just volunteer. Just do a volunteer thingy with someone. He wants one for Derby. The panda boy. Panda wants one for Derby. I love my panda. No, Rick. No, Rick.
Or
Panda.
you call me Ryan or Lupo?
Or Ryan, or I don't. Shh, drunk. Leave me alone.
Oh man, you're cool as shit.
I need more alcohol. It's not nearly enough. This is when I'm bad. I pass out. That's when you know I've gone too far. I get extremely giddy, kind of horny, and then just go boom. It's like, oh, it's bad. Adrian's image. Hey, I got your best friend who I can't believe you're getting rid of in this picture, Adrian.
What's up?
I cannot believe that you're going to be murdering your friend.
Which one is that?
The best one ever. Give me a second. I almost got this. Oh, it's so beautiful. All right, I'm going to reveal. Just give me a second. I'm going to finish.
Okay.
Almost there. Almost. I guess technically it'd have to be flippers. Oh, I fixed it. Look at him.
It looks like an owl with guts hanging out. What is that?
That's your beard.
Beard.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Oh, I need more light.
Take it. You're shaving soon.
Oh yeah, well, it's going to get cut off at DerbyCon.
When is Derby this year?
Oh, please, someone Google it.
It's from the 22nd to the 24th. And how do I know? I just booked a hotel. Yes.
Lucky bad. But that's what I was just thinking. Is like how as I got the kid now. So how are we gonna? Well, we can only do 2 days, right? How are we doing Derby this year? Honey?
Oh, I didn't know you were talking.
No, I'm talking to you. How are we doing DerbyCon this year?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, it's the 21st to 24th. She's in school till at least Friday. I think it's a Thursday to the Sunday. Marriott this year?
No, we're still at the Hyatt this year. Maybe next year.
Okay, we are still at the Hyatt. Okay. I love Hyatt Lou though. They're like the best.
Yeah, Marriott's gonna go just a little more expansion size. I'm actually looking forward to the. Well, I want to see there's something called the Omni. It's gonna be built in Louisville, which is gonna be the biggest hotel in Louisville. If it looks cool, that might be good, but that's also 1 block further away.
Hmm.
I don't know what people will think of it, but.
And I'm only getting a room just in case I get completely plastered and yeah.
I didn't think about volunteering. I probably should have.
I don't think there's any spots. I know one of my buddies from class, Basil, who's like friggin' awesome, and he wanted to see if he could volunteer. I need to introduce him to you guys. I might try to kidnap him and bring him down with me. Brilliant kid. He's on the Cisco Dream Team. He's up at Ivy Tech Bloomington. I think he's gonna go far. You think Hyatt Lou would get mad if I brought a goat with me?
No. Why would anyone ever get mad if you bring a goat?
I put him in diapers. It'd be okay.
Who would get mad?
Hyatt.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's a service animal, right?
If I put Adrian in diapers, you think Hyatt Lou would be upset?
Nah. I think if you claim it to be a service animal, you can get away with it.
Yeah, 200-pound service goat.
Wait, are we talking about a goat or Adrian now?
Adrian is the goat.
Oh, okay. See, you have a whole bunch of animals. I thought you were really bringing a goat with you.
Yes, Adrian is the goat.
She has a goat named after me.
I got it. I get it. I'm a little slow right now. I drink alcohol.
It's all good.
Yeah, you see it. You see that? Yes, because yes, I need to get another one. Can you get me
I'm just switching to bourbon or something harder.
Oh, I don't have anything. Well, I might. I need to restock on the wine. I drank all my wine.
I remember like the first Hackers on a Farm. We went out to Oliver Winery. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to take you guys out to we ended up getting overruled because we got too much stuff was going on that day. But what I wanted to try was take you guys up to the distillery and try some of that stuff out. Because there's a whole bunch of different little microbreweries up in Bloomington that would have been fun too. And there's also Butler Winery, and we considered taking down to French Lick, where there's the casino.
No, fuck that. Fuck French Lick. Fuck them.
They are kind of hoity-toity. No, French Lick's kind of hoity-toity. I mean, there is some fun stuff like the train museum and the water park, but they can get kind of. So.
I don't like casinos because I always lose money.
No, the
same thing with strip clubs.
No, the French Lick police followed my ass almost out of town and then pulled me over and then searched my vehicle.
What? Okay, yeah, okay, asshole. All right, fine. Dorks. Yeah. Oh, also the sulfur springs we found. I've been listing archaeological awesomeness in the locality. There's a sulfur spring that we went to, the Trinity Springs. That's part of this little park that it's been there since the 1700s. And there's nothing. It's like just the springs are left. But there used to be like all kinds of hotels and bathhouses and things. So I've been researching that. And I don't know, just a lot of really interesting local history and stuff. Penguin. Everyone wants penguin.
Got any links for volunteering?
What'd you find? Eric. Please boycott and do not use the $1, $20, $50, and $100 bills as they depict slave owners on them. Gather all of these hideous forms of racism and send them to me, and I will see to it that they are disposed of properly. You don't have to thank me. I do this as a public service for my country. That's actually not a bad idea. Send me your 1s, 20s, 50s, and 100s, please.
Read Lucky's.
Oh dear.
I won't turn down a 5. And
Yeah, really. Or Grant. Isn't it what's Grant on? Like the
50.
1,000 or whatever. If we pull down Robert E. Lee statue, don't we have to pull down Grant's statue then?
I think they should just leave alone all American veterans.
I really think they should. I could have sworn that there was a bill that became a law recently that said it's you can't screw with any war memorials because it's a war memorial.
There's a lot of laws that you can't, but people.
Yeah.
But then those Confederate statues are of war veterans.
But exactly. It's so.
And I unfortunately see things escalating and escalating and escalating.
That's what I'm afraid of, is that it's just going to keep getting stupid and stupid and stupid and stupid. I'm just afraid of the initial outcome because it's dumb. Bing.
That's me going bing.
All right, does anybody have any other important news of the day that we should discuss?
No, but I have no idea what the heck a Euro Derbycon is.
A what?
Derbycon is?
Yes.
Yeah, a bunch of you we've outgrown our venue at the biggest Derbycon ever was actually Derbycon 3. Thereafter we cut the numbers back somewhat because it was just asshole to elbow in the hallways. We're going to expand a little bit when we go into the Marriott.
I can't remember what Derbycon I actually went to.
I went to 2, 3, 4, 5, and whatever.
I went to 1, 2, 4, and 5.
I truly can't remember.
What sucks is I need to find out if I'm doing the HFC shirts or not this year because no one has said anything to me, so I'm gonna have to poke Glenn. Because usually I have more stuff done by now.
Well, Glenn is very pokeable.
Glenn is a very pokeable. I feel bad poking him right now because I don't know what kind of response I'm gonna get. I feel like I'm bothering him. I don't know. I got another T-shirt project I'm working on at the moment, so I'll try to get that wrapped up. I have to draw cartoon kidneys because we're doing a diabetes awareness ride with the American Legion around here. One of my friend's brothers apparently is sick, and so they're doing a fundraiser. But I said I'm designing. Wait, actually, that's what I was thinking of doing the other day. Is should I start a Patron?
Damn diabetes.
Because should I start a Patron for me so that I can have other people randomly donate me crap so I can continue donating services to other people? Because
I really should be charging for this shit, but I feel bad doing it because they're doing a bike ride for a fundraiser. But I need money to pay my bills, so that's where it comes in. But I don't want to do it because everyone asks for patrons for like all kinds of stupid crap.
A GoFundMe account for gas? Seriously?
Oh yeah. There's all kinds of. See, but the patrons are at least they sort of kind of make some sense sometimes. If it's like, hey, can you like help basically invest in my business? I don't know. I don't know any of that shit works anymore.
No, I was looking at how to volunteer for Derby, and so I Googled it, and what popped up was Adrian's GoFundMe for gas money to make it to Derby.
What?
Make my $5 goal.
What?
You succeeded in your $10 goal.
I was gonna say, don't you live like literally across the bridge? Like you could walk there.
It was a troll because so many people are asking for money. All right, so many people are asking for money to get to DEF CON and Black Hat and B-Sides Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I thought it was I'd make a joke of fucking account and say, help me get money to get to DerbyCon, which is it just across the river from me. It's like a 15-minute fucking drive.
I've asked for money to help us get to DEF CON before, but then we realized that when it takes like over a week for it to come through, so I ended up applying it to DerbyCon funds, so that's what got us a hotel room at one of the CD hotels in New Albany.
Oh hell no!
Yeah,
I was right next to it the last time I went.
We either couch crash, which I've done before a couple times, where it's just like I just need like 3 hours of sleep. Can I borrow your couch? And then we drive home because we live within an hour. So I mean, it's close enough to commute, but it's not the preferable thing.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a hotel, the one that I would recommend in the less citier part of New Albany is the one that's right by the bridge. One of those.
They're all bad.
No, not New Albany.
The Holiday Inn by the train tracks actually isn't too bad. Usually we try to stay at like the Econo Lodge in Louisville, and I think we got a room at the Hyatt once. I think we got like one night because a lot of times what'll happen is HFC will comp like one room, like one night. Well, I can get like one night, usually crash space.
Well, if I make it.
But a lot of times I can't stay anyway because I got to come home like milk a goat or do take care of the animals.
If I make it to DerbyCon, I'm going to be most likely couch surfing. I have a slew of friends in Corydon and New Albany, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a lot of sleeping done anyway. The only thing this year is we got the kid, so we got to kind of figure that out. And we have stipulations surrounding that too, where it's like, okay, she can only leave the state for 48 hours. So it's easier if we actually get a room in New Albany because then then she's not out of Indiana for more than her allotted time period.
Hacker kit.
Well, no, we're adopting, so it's.
Yeah, those rules.
Put her in a backpack, carry her on your back.
13. That's a lot of carrying.
That's why you have to have volunteers.
She went last year. We took her last. She had to meet Jason Street and Gillis and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
She still talks about Iron Pirate. She still like all the time.
Stacey Banks.
Yeah, she loves Stacey.
Lady.
She loves Stacey.
Oh, Stacey is pretty adorable.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So, truthfully, Adrian, how big of a stash of hedgehog-related pictures do you actually have?
I just do a little. I'm pretty good at my Google Food, so I can find something that's appropriate at the time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had a stable of hedgehogs and you
I do know two people who have pet hedgehogs, so I could probably reach out to them, and I have for some lockpicking stuff. But I need to get a better camera because it just didn't come up very clear.
Yeah, I'm getting back into that myself. So.
I mean, I just find that lockpicking is strange. because the hobbies that I used to do as a teen, you know.
Criminal? Yeah, we remember.
Oh, he's so cute. I should really go to bed.
What is cute?
I'll show you. Give me a second. Ha! It looks like a troll doll. That's horrible. Durf, okay? See?
I like them.
It's cute. Oh my god.
So it looks like me before I put my hair on, put my face on in the morning. It's like a funny looking Wookiee.
Well, what do you think we call it?
Yeah, I have to call tonight.
All right, folks, thanks very much for being on, and I'll catch you next Wednesday.
All right.
All right.
Okay.